Good morning and welcome to the February meeting of the Advisory Commission on Special Education. We have a very exciting day planned, and we're happy to have all of you with us today. Denise, could you please facilitate a roll call?
Good morning, Chair Notch,
Present.
Commissioner Snipes,
Present.
Commissioner Graff,
Present.
Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Mishad, Commissioner Oyakawa, Commissioner Ruiz,
Present.
Commissioner Sorter, Commissioner Scott,
Present.
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Feimer,
Present.
Commissioner Donata Sapp.
Present.
That's roll call.
Thank you. Please join us in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Snipes, could you please review the agenda for today's meeting?
Yes, we have a bit of a short agenda today because we get to join a celebration for IDEA later today. So we're going to start out with a couple of our committee study sessions between 9:45 and 10:45, and then we'll have an opportunity for general public comment at 10:45, and that will go until 11, and then we will adjourn and transition out to the celebration.
Thank you. We wanted to review the public comment options. Denise, would you please share the slide for public comment? So there's multiple ways to engage in public comment. For members in the room, after an item is presented, you can form a line approaching the dais. For those who are not in the room, you can email at ACSE, ACSE at cde.ca.gov. You can also request meeting materials at that email address. And you are able to dial in at the end of agenda items for comments relating explicitly to those items or participate in general public comment for any items that are not included on the agenda. The number is 717-908-1926. And please use the participant access code. When you call in, you'll have 1 minute, and if you're comfortable, please begin by sharing your name and affiliation. And with that, we will transition into item 1, the seating of a new student commissioner. I'll turn it over to Ms. Yoshimoto-Tauri.
Good morning, commissioners. Happy February. It's always a pleasure to administer the oath of office, and especially today to one of our student commissioners. So I'd like to welcome Helena Donato Sapp up to the podium. We'll give us a moment to get the photo angle right. And welcome.
Thank you.
We're so excited for you. So, okay, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Helena Donato Sapp, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well
that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which
the duties upon which
I am about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
Thank you so much for your service.
you.
We're really excited for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. This concludes this item.
Thank you. Congratulations, Commissioner Donato Sapp. We're so excited to have you. Your voice, your perspective, your experience, and your advocacy is going to be an incredible contribution to this commission. I will turn it over to any commissioners who wish to make a comment. Commissioner Groff?
Oh, good morning. It's just so wonderful to have you join us. And as we know from our previous commissioners, your voice really makes a difference. And many times the student commissioners are better prepared than some of us as commissioners. So we look forward. Please don't hesitate to share your knowledge and wisdom with us, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Helena Donato Sapp. I'm 16 years old, and I am in the Creative Writing Conservatory at Orange County School of the Arts in Santa Ana, California. And I live in Long Beach, California, and I'm happy to be here.
Scanning for any other comments. Commissioner Michaud?
Good morning. Want to extend a warm welcome. If there's anything that you need, please let us know. We're all very nice, and we're excited to have your voice in the room.
Director Heenan?
Good morning, Commissioner. I'm so happy to have you here on the commission representing students in California. I have to say that I have known Commissioner Donato Sapp since she was 3 years old. Our children, well, I'm sorry, my child and Helena attended the same preschool in Long Beach. And I have to say, I am so proud of you. You just exemplify everything that we hope for our students in California. So on behalf of Maddie, my family, congratulations.
We have commissioners online wishing to make a comment. I think we'll start with Commissioner Liu.
Good morning and congratulations. If you're got selected for this commission, you might be quite something. So we're very honored to have you join us here in the commission. And I want to let you know that I actually live in Torrance, which is right next to Long Beach. And so we're Southern Californians together, and maybe we can fly up together sometime.
Thank you.
But congratulations again. Thank you for volunteering to be on this commission.
Thank you.
Commissioner Oyakawa?
I also wanted just to welcome you, and I'm so sorry I'm having migraines today, so I wanted to come in person to say hi, because it really is exciting to have you join us. And so congratulations on getting to this position, and we are really excited to hear what you have to share with us. We really could use your voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scanning for other comments. Commissioner Ruiz?
Good morning, Commissioner. Welcome. I thought that was a really sweet touch that Commissioner Liu said. I usually fly out of Long Beach too, and if you ever want to connect going up, that would be amazing. And yes, just congrats. It's great to have you here, and we're not lying when we say reach out to us if you need anything. So thanks and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. We will transition to public comment. We'll leave the slide up for a brief amount of time to allow those not here in person to call in. I'll ask members of the public who are in the room who wish to make public comment to begin lining up at the dais. Okay, not seeing any members of the public in the room. Do we have any callers? Okay. All right, with no callers, we will conclude item 1 and move into item 2, our committee study session for operations and planning. We have a few things to discuss today for ops and planning. The first is that we were able to receive feedback from legal around our bylaws and the revisions that we agreed upon in, I believe it was maybe August. I think it was the August meeting. There were a couple of suggestions. Let me pull this up. There was, everything was accepted as is with one exception. There was an incorrect citation number regarding the number of meetings that ACSE needs to have each year. And so the recommendation is that we replace, either replace the citation with a different authority or remove the citation entirely by retaining the language. After investigation with the legal team, the suggestion is to go with option 2, just remove the citation, but keep the language around the number of meetings that we need to hold each year. So wanted to open that up for discussion, other ideas, and if there's no opposition to that, then I'll take a motion for approval. Okay. Looks like no comments.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Michaud. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Michaud and a second by Commissioner Groff. We'd have a roll call vote, please.
Chair Notch,
Aye.
Commissioner Snipes,
Yes.
Commissioner Graff,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Liu,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Michaud,
Yes.
Commissioner Oyakawa,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorter, Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Donata Sapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Feimer. That's
Thank you. And congratulations, commissioners. It took us a long time to get here, but we are in a solid place with our bylaws. And I think a lot of the changes that we made will help us run more efficiently and clearly in our purpose. So thank you so much for going through that process with us. Another issue that we wanted to discuss and open up to the commissioners for thoughts and ideas is the ACSE taking official positions on particular items. It could be legislation, it could be supporting any movements or different task forces, things like that. There was a request by a commissioner, and what it revealed to us was that we don't have a consistent process in place, at least with the current composition of commissioners. And in the past, previous chairs have done things differently. And so Vice Chair Snipes and I had a conversation about the specifics around how we would choose as a body to take up an official position. And then we spoke with the members of the Legislation and Policy Committee this morning as well. Some of the important factors to point out, just sort of frame our discussion, is that we've spoken in the past about the difference between our advisory capacity and an advocacy capacity, and that ACSE is firmly an advisory board, and that we present our positions to our appointing bodies. So one suggestion that Vice Chair Snipes and I had is that we make sure that any particular positions of support or opposition are submitted to our appointing bodies so that we don't veer off of that advisory capacity into advocacy territory. So that was one suggestion that we wanted to discuss. Another consideration is that we meet infrequently. And so with 5 meetings a year, and in particular that October to February stretch is quite a large one, we want to make sure that the process that we adopt allows us to be actionable and timely so that we don't have to have a discussion and come back for action in a subsequent meeting. We wanted to to bring something up and take action in one meeting. And in order to do that in a way that allows commissioners to be informed and meaningfully participate in that discussion, we recognize that we need to do some work in advance ahead of the meeting where we would potentially present an action item for support or opposition. So our idea for that was to have the Legislation and Policy Committee receive requests for official positions and work with the commissioner or commissioners who are making that request to do some research and then present a recommendation to the commission by also submitting some of that research and those materials that would need to be considered in advance. So there was a lot of talking. I'm happy to repeat anything that anyone needs me to go over again, and just wanted to open it up for your thoughts. Commissioner Sorter?
That all sounds wonderful, and the only thing I would add to that discussion is having it align also with our goals.
Yes, thank you. I left that part out. Thank you so much. Yes, making sure that the request is aligned with our goal priority areas and our equity pillars as well. Thank you for mentioning that. Commissioner Graff?
Yes, thank you. As chair of the Ledge Policy, I'm happy to receive those kinds of requests, but it might be helpful. I mean, it's possible that previous chairs handled this kind of situation in their own way, but I'm wondering if we could get guidance either from legal counsel or maybe from Kate Dove representing the state board and so forth regarding our charge. So that might give us more, because I know we have discussed possibly writing letters of support for legislation. So I'm just, seeking, I guess, outside counsel to know exactly how to proceed.
Commissioner Oyakawa?
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this up, since I was, I believe, the one who was asking for this process to get started. I did have a few questions. I think one is what Commissioner Graff just asked about how things were handled before. I'm just trying to get an understanding of like what we have done in the past, and one for ideas, but two, again, to make sure we're aligning with the process. And then a couple of questions. I think it's good to clarify that we are advisory and not advocacy as far as our charge. And you said to bring the request to an appointing bodies. I'm asking, I guess the question is, would it be to all the appointing bodies, and would it require their approval before we submit it, or is this we are submitting it to the appointing bodies for them to consider? And then my third question was about, again, more about process. And it's a very good point about how infrequently we meet, and it's hard to get something brought up and then voted on within a single meeting. And I agree that it would be good to get that information kind of massaged through the Ledge Policy Committee first. One question I had was if I'm a commissioner and I come to a next meeting and something has been worked on and I didn't know about it ahead of time, and I might have had concerns about it, how would we be alerted ahead of time so that that we all come to the meeting with the ability to bring in different perspectives and not just vote on one item that has been presented to us. So I guess that's my third question. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I fail to address anything, please remind me. I think your first question was about how previous chairs have handled it, and it's been different with whoever is in the seat. Chair Tostin would bring it for official action. The previous chair, Hayes White, I believe would not always have action taken on it. And so Commissioner Groff said that she could reach out to maybe Gina Plate and some former chairs to see if there's any kind of process that has been lost to the history of time in the turnover of commissioners. Vice Chair Snipes and I agreed that we would want to take action so that it's something that the entire commission can be part of. As far as our appointing bodies, what we were thinking with that is that the request would go to whichever appointing body had purview over the issue that was being either endorsed or opposed. And so making sure that we understand who within the kind of slate of appointing bodies has the authority to receive that either request or endorsement or opposition if we're talking about legislation. And so it wouldn't necessarily go to every appointing body. It would go to the one that was the most relevant based on the issue at hand. And then the third, I believe, was how the commissioners could make an informed choice at the meeting. And so I think we'll need to work through this more carefully with the Legend Policy Committee. But our kind of nascent idea was that we would have the Legend Policy Committee receive the request, work with the commissioner or commissioners who were making the request to get the information, research different perspectives and anything that is relevant in the discussion, work with CDE to get information out to the commissioners in advance of the meeting so that different perspectives could be considered and that the materials could be reviewed so that when we do come back for an action item, there's already been opportunity to research and think, and then we can have the discussion together as a body and then take action there. We also threw out the idea, and this will let Commissioner Groff and Commissioner Sorter and Commissioner Wilkins, since we have thirds now on the committees, make a recommendation of whether or not they want to go this route. But as a further support, the Legend Policy Committee could, with all of that information, present a recommendation to the commission, and then that could be what we vote on. But we'll let you think through that and make that determination. Did I address everything, Commissioner Oyakawa?
You did. I guess I have a follow-up question on the third part. I guess I just want to make sure that, and I'm sure it will be addressed, that there is some sort of timeline in terms of when the full commission would get notice prior to the next meeting that this item would be brought up and discussed and voted on, just to give everyone kind of that opportunity to do their own independent research. And then I guess I have a follow-up question is my understanding correct then that it's the Legend Policy Committee that is going to decide if ahead of time, if this is even going to be presented to the full commission, or is it in addition to whatever the lone commissioner who is making this proposal that we would get the input from the Legend Policy Committee, whether it's in support or in opposition to that request? Is my question making sense? Like, does it need to be vetted and approved through the committee before it would even be brought up, or is it just an extra process to support either for or against the proposal being brought to the full commission?
Vice Chair Snipes.
I think that depending on what's found in the research that's done by Legend Policy, the answer could vary to that, because if in our research we find that the request isn't necessarily within the purview of the appointing body that the request might be going to, or the support or opposition might be going to, we might have to say that's not necessarily something that we can move forward with, because it would step into advocacy, as opposed to reaching out to our appointing bodies to support something or oppose something that they do have some kind of control over, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense as far as kind of a jurisdictional question, I guess, right? That's the first part. And then the second part is like substantively, if the committee, Legend Policy Committee doesn't agree with the proposal by the commissioner who's brought it to the committee, does that stop the process right there, or does it still get presented but without the support of the committee?
Commissioner Graff?
Speaking as chair, and I'm just really speaking off the top of my head here, I wouldn't feel comfortable making that decision on our own. I think in consultation with the chair and the vice chair, we would decide about the substance, of the request. I don't know if Commissioner Sorter, as a committee member would, but I don't think as a committee we would have that authority to do that.
I think there's also an element of wanting to have transparency across the commission, and rather than, one example could be if working with Legend Policy, it's revealed that the request doesn't fall neatly within any of our appointing bodies, we would still want to, as a commission, openly discuss the request that came through, so that all of the members are aware of it and circulate information. So you're asking really phenomenal questions that I think is exactly why we wanted to bring it here today, because we want to make sure that we really amplify our impact and are working within actionable timelines and with information that allow us to make decisions that are informed. One other thing that I wanted to mention, going back to the timeline piece, is that if something is time-bound, let's say legislation, then I think it's even more important for us to do the work in between meetings so that we don't have to take things to 2 meetings in order to have the discussion and then take action later. If there are things that are not time-bound, we could also opt to have a discussion together as a commission in one meeting, and then the research could be done and we could bring it back to a second meeting for action. So I think it really depends on what's coming up and how quickly we need to move on it in order to create impact. Commissioner Michaud?
Just point of clarification, differentiating between advisory and advocacy. If we are taking a stance on a particular bill, we are sending that stance, or in an advisory capacity, to our appointing bodies, versus the other side of that coin would be sending it directly to legislators, or help me understand the difference between the advisory capacity and the advocacy capacity.
Thinking in my head how to frame this. So if we'll use legislation since that's your direct question, sending that position to wherever we are in the bill cycle, to the committees or the legislators who have direct impact on moving it to the next part of the process, I think would be the way we would go for that. The advocacy piece, in our discussion, Vice Chair Snipes and I were talking about how the clearest example would be if we wanted to, if the request came through to send a letter of support or a request to I'm trying to think of the word, somebody that's not our appointing body. So if we wanted to, help me here, Vice Chair Snipes. We were talking about the example, and it's flown right out of my head. Yeah. Well, we're getting the wheels greased up after a long break from the October meeting. I guess any particular body that's not one of our appointing bodies. So if we wanted to, write something to CEC, the Council for Exceptional Children, or something like that, if we wanted to send any particular requests or directives to somebody that works in parallel in the special education realm, but is not one of our appointing bodies, that would appear to us to be more advocacy than advisory capacity, because we're not charged with the responsibility of advising those bodies. I feel like I'm talking in circles.
That was a great answer.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Commissioner Sorter?
Can we walk it through like a hypothetical? And my thought is, only because the other day, the CTC passed 2 proposals for the 60-day subs, and as we know, there is a teacher shortage, and that would be something, so maybe using that scenario, walking that through what a letter would look like to support that, to support their proposals for substitutes to stay 60 days.
It's a great question. Do you have initial thoughts on what that might look like? I think what I'm struggling with is,
I was just trying to come up with a scenario that we could then kind of, going back to your question, what would that look like? So if we were hypothetically in support of that, the legislation was not passed, and now there's some proposals going through. CT is coming up with 2 proposals. So if hypothetically we wanted something, if somebody submitted a proposal to the Leg Committee to say, hey, can we look into this? Then the idea would be the committee would look into this and come back and draft something very transparent, neutral language, maybe doing pros and cons, things like that. And then we would bring it to this committee here and then to our individual appointees for approval, our thoughts about it, and then we would vote to move forward on what that might look like. Am I processing that right?
you are, and I think one thing that we were thinking about when we were having the discussion is being able to get that information out to commissioners in advance of the meeting, so that there is time for the review and kind of consideration of the materials. If we were to take an official position on something, that decision would be made by the commission. So when I speak about making sure that it's going to our appointing bodies, it's not going to them for approval of the commission taking a position. It would be that whatever position we take, we'd send to the relevant appointing body.
So here first and then them second.
Here first, and then we send something to them rather than seek their approval for us. I know it's...
No, that makes sense.
And just in this conversation and your hypothetical, I'm thinking that there are going to be times when maybe they're not related to our appointing bodies directly. And I think that for us, we'll need to have that flexibility. And so it would be kind of like the second priority would be then how connected is it to our goals and priorities as a commission? And that is something that we could definitely connect to those goals and priorities. So I think that would be another consideration. If it's not something that goes directly to our appointing body, then is it still within the commission's purview? And does it align with our goals? So that would need to be a question too, if that first question is a no, as far as appointing bodies go.
And just as a point of clarification, commissioners are able to, oh, sorry, did you want a follow-up question?
It just made me think, maybe a rubric for submission, like does it meet these criterias, and then it comes to the commission.
I like that idea. As commissioners, as individuals, we can write letters of support to anybody or opposition to anybody for anything. We just can't represent ACSE in those positions. So as individual people, we are able to contact anybody that we want. But if we are doing it in the capacity of the commission, that's what we have to make sure we have the process for taking action. Commissioner Scott?
Yes, and because what you just said is related to a question I had. Okay, so I frequently attend webinars and meetings on mental health for students in our schools. And frequently they ask you to identify what organization you're with. And I'm going mainly because I'm a commissioner. Can I identify myself as a commissioner?
Am I able to turn to our executive secretary? Sorry to put you on the spot, but I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to misspeak, so I definitely want to do a little bit of research on that because it's that fine line, to represent the commission versus yourself. So let me, I'll do a little bit of research with our legal team and get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sorter?
While you're doing that research, I just have one more question to add to it. We all have commission business cards that say commissioner. So when would it be appropriate then to hand somebody that card or the purpose of those cards? So we don't get in trouble.
No, and you're directly, representing the work of the commission when you know that you have had this as a discussion and then you are there representing in your official capacity as a commissioner.
And the items that we decide as a commission to take action on one way or another will be on the agenda, will be available and open for public comment. And so it will be very, very transparent and very clear that it's an action that's being taken as the body rather than an individual, even if it's brought to the commission for consideration by an individual. If that makes sense. Any other thoughts, ideas, questions, concerns?
All right, I just want to make sure that I wanted to clarify like my request. Again, I think we talked about already having the timeline as far as how far in advance we would like to share with ACSE commissioners prior to meeting if the materials and information that's going to be discussed and voted on at the subsequent meeting. And I love the rubric idea. And again, for transparency purposes, as you said, chairs, that we have clarified that even if the Legend Policy Committee does not agree with the commissioner's proposal, that it would still be presented with the committee's opinion included. So I just wanted to make sure that that was. I'm not sure if we're agreeing on a process and we're going to be voting on this process, or if we're just sharing opinions right now. But that's what I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for today, we wanted to get thoughts and ideas and then work with the Legislation and Policy Committee to come up with kind of actioning the ideas that we developed today. And I'll leave it up to Commissioners Groff and Sorter if they want to have a recommendation for taking a certain position as part of the process. I would say my recommendation would be that if we do have that as part of the process, that regardless of the position that the Legend Policy Committee is taking, it would still come forward to the entire commission. But I'll leave it up to the two of you to do some work and come up with a proposal, and then we can talk about that at the next meeting and take action on kind of our new official transparent process. And maybe memorialize it somewhere so that future commissioners have a starting point at least, not that we would bind them to that, but somewhere to start. Commissioner Michaud?
Along those lines, I was going to say it would be helpful to have like either a flow chart or some sort of step-by-step process that could be, added somewhere for us to reference.
Yes. Final thoughts?
I'm wondering if it's appropriate for us to then, in between now and our next meeting, to potentially draft something like a rubric and a timeline to bring back to the discussion that we could have in April. could be a good next step.
Seeing a nod from Commissioners Graff and Sorter and others. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we will transition to public comment for this item. Any members of the public who are in the room who wish to make a comment, please begin lining up at the podium. And seeing no members of the public in the room, are there any callers?
There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. We will now transition to item 3, another committee study session on the Impact Award. So I will turn it over to Commissioners Michaud and Hamilton.
Just jump in. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Wanted to kick off our discussion with a thank you to those who scored, took the time to score all of our applications today. We are excited to bring a few finalists to the commission for discussion and for vote. For those of you that just prefer to process visually, there is a document that's in the box that has information on the 3 finalists that we'll be discussing today, if you wanted to bring that up and reference it as we are talking. We received the same high number of applications for the ACSE Impact Award this year as we did last year in our inaugural year, which was very exciting, with some very strong programs throwing their hats in the ring for the wonderful work that they are doing across the state of California. In addition to that large number, we continue to field a wide variety of applicants, going from preschool all the way up to transition age students, from districts, charter schools, non-public schools, county offices, and we're excited to see a continued variety and continued high number of applications for the 2026 ACSE Impact Award. Yeah.
Apologies for the interruption. I'm wondering if for the sake of background for our new commissioners, if you could share a little bit about the evolution of the award and what it does to highlight programs across the state.
Yes, absolutely. And Commissioner Hamilton, if I miss something, please jump in. So this award started, I'm already blanking on a number of years ago in terms of goal, many. So the Advisory Commission recognized the Grazer Outstanding Achievement in Learning Award, or the GOAL Award, through a grant from the Grazer family for many, many years. 2 years ago, that grant funding ran out, and we were looking to continue being able to recognize great programs across the state of California. And so the commission, along with some very wonderful and very generous partners in the SELPA Administrators of California and the California County Superintendents, started the ACSE Impact Award. The inaugural year was last year, and so this is our second year with that award, but the idea and the goal of that award is the same. It's just to recognize excellent work that's happening in various programs across the state of California. And so we opened the application process in the fall and the winter, and then we go through a scoring procedure, through a rubric that we've approved in the commission, and then bring finalists to this meeting for discussion, and to determine the winner of the ACSE Impact Award for that year. They then come to the June meeting and we have a little celebration, a presentation, and then there's other work that happens over the course of the spring, where we're doing some video work and writing executive summaries and just other ways to share the great work that program did and just highlight that program across the state of California. And so the purpose for today's discussion is to review the 3 finalists that we're bringing based on the scoring, and then make a decision on who the 2026 award winner will be. Anything I missed? Yes, please.
So when we look at these program applications, we're really looking at specific criteria that align with ACSE's mission. And the first criteria is that the program demonstrates success for students with disabilities. Criteria 2 is the program incorporates innovation or highly effective design elements. 3, the program is easily replicable and sustainable. And 4, the program establishes connections with district, county, charter, families, and/or community stakeholders. 5, the program seeks to improve outcomes for students with disabilities in a way that is aligned with ACSE's goals, which are student and family voice, social, emotional, and behavioral health, literacy proficiency, and transition support. Transition support.
Thank you. And with that, I think we can go into discussion. Okay, wonderful. So the scoring committee, which again this year included representatives for our two wonderful partners, the SELPA Administrators of California and the California County Superintendents, lifted up 3 wonderful programs as finalists for the 2026 award. The first program is the Project Search program through Baldwin Park Unified School District. The second is the RO Inclusion program through Saugus Union School District. And the third is the Structured Therapeutic Educational Program, or STEP, through Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. So as we are thinking about choosing a winner from our wonderful finalists, it's important to keep in mind alignment between those programs and our ACSE goals, and then also the areas that we were focusing on for scoring. And so I wanted to maybe just give folks a couple minutes to review the document, if that's okay, since we're kind of on a tight timeline, which we'll talk about when we talk about next year, but wanted to give some folks some processing time to just review that document before we start our discussion.
And that document is in the virtual
In the box,
bind?
yeah. 2026 ACSE Impact Award finalists.
If you already have the virtual binder open from earlier today, you might have to refresh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Michaud,
Yes.
would you or Commissioner Hamilton be able to read the summary for participants online for each of the programs?
Yes. Do you want to just alternate? Take one, I'll take one.
So the first program is the Baldwin Park Unified and Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Park Project Search. This program serves transition-aged students, and the summary of the program is the Baldwin Park Unified School District has partnered with Project Search, Kaiser Permanente, Baldwin Park, ESGV SELPA, the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center, the Department of Rehabilitation, and Ability First to provide students with disabilities meaningful, real-world work experience at Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Park through hands-on internships across departments. At Kaiser Baldwin Park, students gain firsthand experience working as part of a professional team. With strong collaboration and job coaching, Project Search Kaiser Baldwin Park prepares students for meaningful, long-term employment in the community. And they plan to use if they were to win, the award funds on uniforms, travel training and community access, Project Search merchandise, appreciation items for job coaches and other partners, small incentives to support host events, end-of-year recognition, celebration, and events.
The second program, the RO Inclusion program through Saugus Union School District, serves elementary age students, and the program summary that the applicant shared is as follows. This innovative elementary school program integrates students who might otherwise be placed in isolated special day classes into general education settings for 95% or more of the school day, providing individualized behavioral, social, emotional, and academic support through co-teaching, paraeducator support, behavior services, and intensive interventions. By eliminating special day classes and consolidating caseloads of former SDC students with RSP students, the program reduced the number of teachers and paraeducators needed, allowing staff to support the entire campus more efficiently. This cost-effective, holistic model breaks down barriers, benefits all students, and is highly replicable for districts facing budget constraints, particularly in special education. They shared they would do the following if they were to get the award funds. Award funds will be used to strengthen and expand inclusive practices by investing in the two most critical components of successful inclusion: time and targeted supports. Dedicated time for staff training and co-planning will be a primary use of funds. Funds will also be used to purchase specially designed tools and instructional supports that enable students with disabilities to be successful in the general education setting. Examples include assistive technology such as text-to-speech and speech-to-text tools, visual schedules and organizational supports, adaptive instructional materials, AAC supports, and sensory and self-regulation tools that promote engagement and independence in the classroom.
And the third finalist is the Structured Therapeutic Educational Program, otherwise known as STEP, from Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. This program serves middle and high school age students. And the summary says, the Structured Therapeutic Educational Program is a small therapeutic program that works with students with internalizing behaviors such as depression, anxiety, suicidality, school phobia, etc. in grades 6 through 12. The small class size, high student to staff ratio, and the daily therapeutic supports helps our most vulnerable students during times of intense need. Currently, we as a nation are experiencing a high level of mental health needs, and we are fortunate to have a dedicated program on our campuses to support students before, during, and after crises. Should they win the award, they have indicated using the funds on training with Dr. Ross Green and Lives in the Balance. This training focuses on collaborative and proactive solutions, which is an evidence-based, trauma-informed, neurodiversity-affirming model of care that helps caregivers focus on identifying the problems that are causing concerning behaviors in kids and solving those problems collaboratively and proactively. This program requires no additional materials and can work in conjunction with what we are doing now. It is also a train-the-trainer model, and so we would be able to duplicate the work across sites. Parents would also be trained in CPS.
So those are the three programs, the three wonderful programs that we are putting forth as finalists for the 2026 ACSE Impact Award. And so now that we've gotten a chance to read through and review on our own, I wanted to open the floor for discussion. It will be difficult, but we will need to pick one of these programs to give the award to.
Commissioner Goff?
I just had a couple of questions. What is the amount of money that would be given to the entity that wins?
It's $8,000 is the award.
Right. And is one of the components transition? Identifying transition for students to either post-secondary or to work? Was that one of the criteria?
So that is one of the goals that we have for ACSE, but not one of the criteria for the programs.
Yes, that is one of our priority areas, which is important, but each program doesn't need to include every priority within their program.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. Then just based on the reading so far, let's see here, I think the program that I would support then would be the one from Saugus Union School District, given the elements there to try and promote inclusion. It seemed to be very strong, especially in terms of how they wanted to utilize the money.
Thank you.
I would agree with you. I really look through the lens of inclusion, and I think the other two programs that are identified are more specialized programs and may not be inclusive of all students with all different levels of support needs.
Commissioner Sorter?
Yes, I was in agreement. It's especially when we look at being replicated across the county or across the state. Project Search is a licensed program. And so if you look at the RO and the inclusion, I think that would be something that could easily be modeled across and part of the priorities for our state.
Other commissioners?
Looks like we have a hand online.
Do we have a hand? Is that, can you?
It's hard to see. Commissioner Oyakawa?
Thank you. First, I just want to say my husband is a Kaiser doctor, so I'm not going to vote even though he does not work for Kaiser Permanente. He works for an entity that contracts with them, and it's in Northern California, not Southern California, so they're separate but related entities. Vote. So I just want to say that up front. But I did want to comment though, because the Saugus Union program really struck me because, you know, we have had this very strong push from everyone, including ACSE, for inclusion. And as it's been playing out in the schools, I've heard a lot from other parents and teachers saying how difficult it is for them to implement this very good goal. And I often hear of schools just completely taking away SDC programs without giving the kids the supports they need in the gen ed classroom, or not giving the teachers the supports they need to support these classes. And reading the description of this program sounds, at least from what I've read, it sounds like they're really trying to meet everyone's needs. And I feel like this does seem to really be sort of the shining example of, I think one of the terms they said was that they move their staff around, and that's basically what we're asking a lot of people to do, right? Bring in your special ed educators into the gen ed classroom, train the gen ed teachers to also be able to support not just the special ed students, but using the universal design for learning model, support all the students using these practices. And so I like that this program really sort of showed you couldn't do one thing without doing the other. And I feel like they took it in steps. And so I would love to learn more about this program. And I just thought that this was very unique in how they were trying to implement kind of with the philosophy and the goals that everyone had for why inclusion works. I felt like they were really trying to meet that. And so I just wanted to share my thoughts about how this seemed like a different way of doing what we have all been talking about would be a good thing for all our students. So I'd love to learn more, and I'd love to see more schools making sure that they meet everyone's needs and not just kind of move programs around or you know, push kids into a class without giving everyone the supports that they need. So sorry for my long spiel. I'm going to have more coffee in a second. Thank you.
Did you have your hand up? Oh. I have a couple of thoughts. Your comment about how it's going to be difficult is spot on. The submissions and the quality of the submissions that we received this year is just unbelievable and very exciting. I'm going to present a slight counterpoint to some of the things that have been shared, modeling for our new commissioners that there's room for all opinions. So anything that you want to speak up on, never ever feel like you have to kind of follow along with things. So I have been I'm going to wear my parent hat. I've been a champion for inclusion, and there have been times when, you know, my son started in a preschool SDC class after being asked to leave his previous preschool placement, and so it was a very restrictive environment, but it's what he needed at the time. And when he transitioned to kindergarten, I was pushing for him to be in general education, and the team did not make that recommendation, and he started kindergarten in a special day class. And as much as I wanted him to be in general ed, it wasn't the right place for him at that time. And we were very lucky that the SDC, the special day class, was located on a campus with an incredible advocate in a general ed kindergarten teacher who welcomed him and had him in her class as much as possible, so that he did have the gen ed peers to learn from, and eventually was able to work his way into general education because that was the spot that was right for him at that time. And then things changed in a very dramatic way. And he ended up needing to go to one of the most restrictive placements, which was a residential placement, and has thankfully transitioned back home. That's why I missed the October meeting. So he's back home with us, and he's doing well. But he was not in a place where he would be able to successfully transition into a general education program from that setting. And I think one of the things that we've talked about as a commission is that while we want to champion and lift up inclusion, we also don't want to make the statement that general education is the only or the best place for students, because the continuum exists for a reason and circumstances change. And while I would never want any student to be denied access to general education, and it's a big theme in some of my comments for our 50th anniversary IDEA celebration, I also don't want to give the impression that the commission supports closing SDCs in favor of inclusion only, because it leaves a population of students potentially without other options, which could then require them to move to more restrictive settings if they don't have their needs met in general education. I loved this application. It was a high scorer for me. I love everything that they're doing to build capacity across the school and to open up inclusive opportunities for students by building that capacity, and I think that's phenomenal. But it does give me a little bit of pause to say that the reason that we would want to support this is because inclusion is what inclusion means general education only. But I agree with the commissioners for the amazing things that this program embodies. But just having worked through it personally and been on all different sides of where needs and how needs manifest, that was my one concern with this particular submission. Commissioner
Can I
Scott?
follow up? Oh, sorry.
Okay. So I think they're all three great programs. I think transitioning can be very challenging. And then for the mental health, we all know that's a major problem right now among our students. And so any kind of support, any kind of help would be great, especially having a smaller class size with more staff. That would be great. Inclusion is also needed. And one of the challenges with inclusion is that there's not usually enough staff and enough support to assist the teachers who are in the general education classroom. That's one of their main concerns, is that they think it detracts from the regular ed students. It takes away time. And so having extra staff and having an organized program would be great. However, I do agree, because I have a son who was in special education and he would not benefit from inclusion. But for the kids who would benefit, I think it's great. But as long as they keep the SDC classes for the kids who would not be successful with inclusion. Thank you.
Commissioner Oyakawa?
Thank you. And I can tell I didn't have enough coffee because listening to Chair not, I think you were saying what I was trying to say. And that is that I feel like the program is going in the right direction, but I guess I felt like I wanted to see that there was support in terms of that the families and that the students and the teachers all felt that they were getting what they needed. And one thing I did leave out that you did mention, and I thank you for bringing up, is the continuum of services that needs to be available. I'm not sure when I read it, but I thought they were removing all SDC. And again, I don't think that is necessarily the goal when we talk about inclusion. And I'm actually a parent who also advocated to have my daughter pulled out for part of the day at least, because that's something she needed. And again, that's part of the continuum, right? I know that schools, including our district, have struggles with maintaining staff. So how do you keep a school open with like one SDC class for maybe one or two students who needs it when everyone else has been pushed into gen ed? Do you have to move students to one location so that they can fill an SDC class when they need to? What happens with all of that? And so it's so complex, and I don't envy the administrators that have to make those decisions. But at the end of the day, it's the kids and the teachers and all the kids, both gen ed and those with IEPs and 504s, and anyone who needs the services. Are they getting what they need in that moment? And so I did feel that they were trying to meet everyone's needs, but I wasn't sure that in doing so, they were, I don't know the answer. Is it okay to eliminate SDCs on certain campuses, right? Because you've been able to shift everybody over in an appropriate way. So I think I just kind of felt that it was a good start. And I think it's so hard when they're making these submissions. We had so many good submissions, but they don't have a lot of room to give us all the information that they probably want to. It is hard to read a lot of submissions, and I don't know. I guess I just want to make sure that we are all thinking of all aspects of what inclusion looks like when we are deciding to hold up one program as the model that ACSE has said, is the one to promote. So I think I'm more actually in line with the chair's perspective. I just don't say it as eloquently. And so I will return to my caffeinating process. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Oyakawa. And quickly, just speaking on something that you mentioned, it is very, very difficult for the applicants to include everything. And there could be elements. I remember last year when Orange Unified presented, I learned so much more about that program. And so it is hard, but it looks like maybe Commissioner Hamilton has additional information.
I would agree. And I think as I was reading all of these applicants, one of the big kind of gaping holes in my mind for some of them was like, what is the continuum of students you serve in this program and what does that look like? So maybe that's something we consider adding or working into our application and our scoring criteria, because I think everyone uses the word inclusion and has different meaning for that. And to me, the meaning for the word inclusion is very important and meaningful, and I want to understand better what they mean when they use the term inclusion.
Vice Chair Snipes?
Just sitting back and listening to this conversation, I think that we all know that the word inclusion gets overused and can be interpreted in many different ways. And I know that rightful presence and belonging has been a conversation on this commission. And so going along with Hamilton, I think that it would be beneficial for us to also take those elements into consideration, especially when we're talking about a continuum. There needs to be place for everyone to feel a true sense of belonging and rightful presence. And if that is a small contained setting, then that would be the most appropriate place, right? The other thing to keep in mind as well is that I believe one of the criteria in this is the ability to replicate a model. And my concern about smaller programs, especially specialized programs, is that ability to be replicated across settings, just knowing constraints, rural constraints, access to service providers, and things like that too. So I am bringing that back. I'm not going to advocate one way or the other for any of the candidates, but I did just want to bring that back to the conversation.
Commissioner Michaud?
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. A couple things that I wanted to lift up in just reflection in hearing what folks are sharing. I think last year we had an opportunity to see a really unique program in what Orange Unified brought in that it was sort of a district-wide almost philosophy. Whereas I do want to note that these are 3 discrete programs that exist as a part of a larger continuum of services in each one of those districts. Whereas I think last year we were looking more holistically at a program. These are individual programs that exist within a larger context of the district, and so I think that's important to keep in mind. The other thing I'll say is it was interesting to me seeing the 3 finalists that rose to the top of the crop, because I do think that the Saugus Union School District is sort of a more general holistic inclusion program, whereas the other 2 are more specialized programs and talk about what inclusion means for those particular groups of students. And so for the transition program, it's inclusion within the larger workforce. For the mental health program, it's inclusion within the general education setting while still getting more structured or intensive services. And so I did think it was interesting that we do have kind of a representation of different kinds of inclusion within the 3 programs that ended up rising to the top.
I also think that the program on mental health, we have a real problem with mental health right now in our country. And this program can be replicated in any school district, and there is potential for it to continue on from one level to the other, from elementary, secondary, and further. And it's a real need right now. And one of the problems the teachers have is having a large classroom and having kids with mental health issues who need just a little bit more care and attention. This would really be helpful for them and for the students. They would benefit more from the extra care. Instead of sometimes, the teachers have to be calling for help to deal with behaviors. I think having a structured program and having extra help already in the classroom would be good.
Sorry.
I was reading the RO inclusion one, and I was wondering, will the general education teachers be trained to take care of students if they were integrated into all of that, those classes and whatnot? Would they be trained to be able to take care of those students with those needs? Because I don't
Here.
think general teachers.
So could you speak into the microphone, please? Sorry.
I don't think all general education teachers are trained to deal with kids with disabilities, and I feel that would be unfair to subject them to that if they don't know how to deal with that just for the sake of quote unquote inclusion. I feel like it's inclusion, but I feel some of it will be also pressured inclusion, and I know not everybody wants to be in that kind of environment. There's a lot of kids in my Bear Pals group that I've worked with, and they would rather be in the corner being able to do their own thing than be in that big group of quote unquote inclusion, and I don't see it as that. So that was my question. Would the teachers be equipped to handle all of that for the sake of inclusion?
Thank you. That's a great question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Most general ed teachers are not trained because that's a specialty, special education teachers. And so they are not trained to teach those students. So what usually happens is that you have an education specialist trained to teach students with special needs. They usually go into the classroom, and I guess this is where this extra money would help to support. They usually go into the classroom and teach those students. And they usually have instructional aides as well that goes with the students, and they give them extra attention and instructions. But yes, most of the time, the regular ed teacher is not really trained. And that's one of the struggles with inclusion. And a lot of teachers do have a hard time with it.
I think I'll go to Commissioner Hamilton because I believe they addressed how they're helping to support students in the environment. Were you going to clarify that?
I believe there's a co-teaching model. So it is utilizing both general education and special education teachers working together. And I hate to bring in kind of a generalized idea of what this may look like when we're talking about a specific program, and that may not necessarily be what they're doing, and it's not what they've indicated on the application. And I also would go on to say there are many other high-functioning model inclusion programs who have a similar co-teaching model and are very successful in serving their students.
Sorry to turn to our chairs, our co-chairs. Is there anything in particular that either Commissioner Michaud or Commissioner Hamilton or anyone else who was able to dig into the program wants to share about the specifics? To your point, Commissioner Hamilton, about the specifics around how they are supporting students in their environments?
Yeah, I can speak just briefly to your question. They did mention in the application around targeted professional development, collaborative planning, and then sort of co-designing instructional supports between the general education side of the house and the special education side of the house. And they also mentioned a partnership with supporting inclusive practices to support that collaboration and professional learning time. And so I think specifically answering your question for this program, they do indicate that there's training and support for general education teachers within that model.
Then that's very good, because that's usually a challenge. Support for the regular education teachers. So that's good. Thank you for that information.
I have a second question. Sorry, this one's about the STEP program though. For the middle school and high school age kids. They said it would be like a smaller class size and whatnot. And I know sometimes smaller class sizes could feel isolating and whatnot. Would they still be able to have the opportunity to enter AP classes or extracurricular classes, even if it might seem to be a stressor? I don't want to say a stressor, but they are stressors. They're stressful, but I feel would they still be able to do that, be in those classes, without would it in that program, would they be able to do that? And is that program going to make the students feel isolated? Because it's I get it's mental health awareness, but if you're going to be to have mental health, be aware of your feelings and make sure you acknowledge your feelings, I feel that would be pressured on the students too. And I want to know if that's acknowledged.
I appreciate that question, and I think that you bring up, and I'll let you speak to it, Commissioner Michaud, but I think you bring up a really good theme that we've been discussing as a commission in past meetings too, about ensuring that we're leaving as many options on the table as possible for our students. And so thank you for asking that, and I will let Commissioner Michaud respond.
Yeah, so the application does share a program goal of increasing student time and successful participation in general education classrooms. They don't specifically mention participation in AP courses, but did share that they use a hybrid instructional approach that combines specially designed instruction with the special education teacher, with structured online learning platforms, and then gradual reintegration into general education. If there are others that reviewed that maybe caught an AP thing, I don't believe that they specifically mentioned that, but reintegration in general education is part of the program goal.
And I feel like they indicated in their application they had a high reintegration rate with their students.
Other comments? Commissioner Groff?
I just wanted to compliment everyone on the commission for your comments, and especially from the parent perspective. And I think it really highlights the work that we have to do as a state to move education forward for all children, because I know there are exemplary models of inclusion where there aren't any special day classes, and yet every single student, even those with extensive support needs, are fully included and highly successful in general education classrooms. But we're not all there yet. And so there's more work to be done. So I just want to compliment and really appreciate the comments, especially coming from the parent perspective, as to the direction that the state has to go. So I don't have any other comments related to these proposals, but I just wanted to thank the parent perspective for this, to highlight the work we still have to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Thank you for that, and I agree. And I will say, back to the high level of applications that we did receive, I was thrilled to see so many of the kind of holistic inclusion, well thought out programs that included key components like universal design for learning and co-teaching and all of these wonderful ways to support students within the classroom and making that inclusion possible for a broader range of students. So I think that we have made some progress, but there's a lot of work to be done.
And just to follow up, tomorrow's presentation from SIP, Supporting Innovative Practices, I think we've already identified some areas that for discussion to see how SIP is addressing these, given the work that they do up and down the state to support inclusion. So I look forward to that conversation tomorrow. Thank you.
I almost wish we had an interview component to this, because I believe there's a lot that's not on paper, and especially having kind of shared concerns, what you just shared, Commissioner Hamilton, and thank you, Commissioner Groff, for the appreciation of the parent perspective. I would hate to inadvertently make assumptions about what's missing, and miss an opportunity to uplift a program that is showing how to do it well.
I was thinking the same thing, and I almost was thinking I wish we could have finalists and then do an interview with the finalists as we were doing this.
Well, we get to make the rules.
Commissioner Michaud just looked at me, I was like, what?
We love adding layers of complexity.
Commissioner Oyakawa, do I see your hand?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, since I'm no longer one of the co-chairs, I absolutely love that idea, Commissioner Hamilton, about having the finalists do an interview, because I think, as Chernach just said, I'd hate to miss, if this is the program that is doing it right. I have so much concern that holds me back, and I'm not voting anyway, so I feel happy to just talk. But it's I love what they're trying to do, and so I just want to know that it is happening right. And it's not going to be perfect, but I still love what the program is trying to do, and I feel like they've tried to address all the things that we've talked about in terms of supporting and training the gen ed teachers, in terms of making sure that all students are able to, and they did it slowly, they did it in steps, and they're still doing it, I understand. And so I have concern. I think my hackles went up when I think I read that they no longer had an SDC class on that campus. And again, maybe you don't need it at that campus, and maybe there's a way to, in a good way, kids who need it still can take it at another campus, and it doesn't hurt that student. I just have my instincts kind of just take pause. But again, like, I agree. I don't want to miss an opportunity to highlight the program if this is like the one that really is doing it right. And so, yeah, I would absolutely be all for having an interview process going forward. Since I'm not going to be running it, I'd be happy to support that.
Maybe you will.
Maybe you will.
Thank you.
I too support the interview process, because like you were saying, that when you're right, like you said, our last recipient from Orange Unified, we learned so much more with them doing their presentation and talking. I mean, I know it's an extra step, but at least when we do choose someone, we'll be, more confident that, yeah, this is the program that deserves it.
I think confidence is a good word, Commissioner Scott, because what's giving me pause is if we are, you know, living up to the intentions of this award is to uplift these incredible, successful, replicable programs as shining examples, and we have missing information. I wouldn't want us to put forward a program that might not actually align with what it is that we're hoping to uplift, and finding out all that extra information that we received from Orange Unified, that could go either way. We could find out things that later, you know, we worry a little bit about, like, you know, if they didn't say explicitly in their application for this one particular example that they closed all of the SDCs on that campus, and then they come and do a presentation and say, we believe that all SDCs should be closed, it could misrepresent the support of the commission. And so adding my vote for the interview process. And I would be happy to participate in that so that there's not as much load on our co-chairs. But yeah, it's kind of a quandary about how to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we are all excited about the interview process, which is wonderful. And we will consider that for 2027. I think that for now, we will need to select an award winner. And we feel a little all over the place to me. And so I'm wondering if there's maybe a straw poll that we can do to kind of kickstart this decision-making process, or if there are other comments that folks would like to share.
I wanted to get everyone else's opinion on the step going back to that application. My concern is on how they're using the $8,000 going to just one speaker to come. And again, not Googling the speaker, going back to, you know, the quality of the speaker and replica. Does that mean if you're going to do this in other districts, you're going to need this person, which is $8,000? And then and it's nice, yes, they are going to be trainers to trainers, and they indicated, oh, we won't need anything after this. Well, then what does the sustainability and follow-up look like in terms of coaching and implementation? How do you know what is being, and that could, going back to the previous conversation, maybe that is included in this $8,000. Maybe it's a 2-year contract that wasn't put, but my concern was it was going to a person to come present.
Commissioners or Vice Chair Snipes?
I also had some concerns as well with the Kaiser program and their description of how they may use the funds. Just thinking about, it is very important to appreciate your trainers and to show appreciation for trainers, but is that where we want the funding to go? Is that funding directly supporting the individuals who are participating in their program? And then I just keep going back to the criteria that we currently have and the ability to replicate a program. So I'm thinking very logically as far as our folks that we have to choose from in this round.
I guess just to add on to that, I, again, loving every aspect of the submissions. I mean, phenomenal, but the replicability of the application with the Kaiser partnership made me wonder, you know, for programs that don't have access to that, or the access that they do have in their community, they're not interested in the partnership. That does impact the replicability of that program. But it sounds phenomenal. Well, we haven't moved any closer to presenting a nomination. Do you want to do the straw poll? Oh,
Sorry, could I make one more comment? The part about use of the award funds, I think that was a new question this year. And I just wanted to clarify that my understanding is that it's not one of the criteria that we're judging, but we're, I guess, just using the information that they've given as clarification on the replicability of these programs. So I guess I would suggest, as we look at these 3 programs and looking at their response to that question, kind of to separate that out from, like, let's say the STEP program. Can we look at the program without that speaker, and how do we like that program now as far as its replicability? And that was just my comment on that.
And to clarify one point there, the use of funds was a new question on this year's application. It was not part of the scoring rubric, but can be part of the discussion as we're narrowing down the finalists.
Is there a requirement for how you have to use the funds?
No. No requirement for how you use the funds.
So looking at the time and appreciating the discussion, I'll briefly review just, again, the 3 programs that are on the table for finalists, and then maybe we should entertain a motion for someone to nominate one. Or did you want to do the straw poll? Oh, where everyone kind of, sorry. And maybe I'll get it wrong in my definition, but what I thought you meant by that is everyone kind of goes around and talks about which program they're supporting, and then we do a motion.
Yes.
That may or may not be the actual definition of a straw poll, but. Oh, the drawing straws.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were picking randomly, but okay.
Yeah, so the thought behind that is I don't feel clear enough to make a motion based on this discussion. I actually feel a little bit clearer than I did 5 minutes ago, but and so the straw poll, or whatever we want to call it, would be an opportunity for us to share and see what kind of agreement we have to then either continue discussion or make a motion based on that.
Great. Well then, could I ask for a roll call, and then commissioners, when your name is called, you can either abstain from choosing one, or you can make a recommendation for the Baldwin Park Unified and Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Park Project Search, RO Inclusion from Saugus Union, or Structured Therapeutic Educational Program, or STEP, with Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District.
Chair Notch.
I'm going to go with STEP with Santa Monica Malibu.
Commissioner Snipes.
I'm going to abstain from voting.
Commissioner Graff.
I'm supporting RO Inclusion from Saugus Unified School District. I think it models the direction that the state wants to go, so thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton.
I agree with Commissioner Graff. My vote goes for RO Inclusion for their holistic inclusion model, which is the direction the state is pushing for, and we need to see more programs like that.
Commissioner Liu.
The RO Inclusion.
Commissioner Mishad.
RO Inclusion.
Commissioner Oyakawa.
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Ruiz.
I'm going with RO Inclusion with Saugus Union.
Commissioner Sorter.
RO Inclusion.
Commissioner Scott.
I'm going with the mental health program.
Commissioner Donata Sapp.
I am abstaining.
Commissioner Feimer.
The STEP program?
Thank you. So it looks like the top contender is RO Inclusion, and then the second is the Structured Therapeutic Educational Program, or STEP. Commissioner Hamilton?
I move to take an actual vote. Do I move for just one program or to do a full vote?
You can move for a specific program.
I move to award the 2025-26 ACSE Impact Award to RO Inclusion.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Chair Notch.
I'm going to respectfully abstain because I don't feel like I have enough information. So I'll abstain.
Commissioner Snipes.
Abstaining.
Commissioner Graff.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Liu.
Yes.
Commissioner Rishad.
Yes.
Commissioner Oyakawa.
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorter,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Abstaining because I think we need more information.
Commissioner Donato Sapp,
I am abstaining.
Commissioner Feimer.
Also abstaining because I think we need a little more information.
Okay. Well, with that, it passes. So we have our 2026 Impact Award finalist, RO Inclusion from Saugus Union School District, and we'll be very excited to connect with them, learn more, have them prepare their presentation, and yeah, congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations to Saugus Union School District. We are excited to learn more about your program in June. And so as next steps, we will invite you to our June 10th through the 11th ACSE meeting to present the program, enjoy a celebratory lunch with commissioners. And then we'll, as some additional next steps, we're going to send letters to all applicants, updating them on the status of their application. We'll work with our partners to connect with the winner and then create that video that we'll put together to showcase the program. And then we'll invite the winner formally to the June ACSE meeting. Wanted to thank my co-chair Hamilton, thank all of the scorers. We had a lot of applications to go through this year, and so thank you for your time reviewing those and scoring them. Thank you to the commission for this great conversation, and then our partners, SELPA Administrators of California and California County Superintendents. I think I will speak for myself, potentially also Commissioner Hamilton. I think a goal for these is that we are all able to vote. And so I think if there is feedback on the process, we would want to hear that to make sure that folks feel confident in getting the information that they need to be able to vote on these on the dais. And so if you do have feedback, please send to Commissioner Hamilton and I. The interviews is definitely something that we will be looking into for next year. Potentially also a question around continuum of services. And then I think just a logistical question, we might try to play around with timeline a little bit to be able to give folks, the finalists, with a couple days advance notice to review ahead of the meeting, just to make sure that folks get that processing time. But if there's other feedback that you have around process to make sure that we all have what we need to make a decision in the moment, please send that to Commissioner Hamilton and I, and we'll consider that for next year.
Thank you. And just tremendous gratitude for both of you for the way that you uplift this process and how detail-oriented you are and what champions you are for it, and contributions to our annual report. Just phenomenal leadership, and I know it's very time-intensive, and I know we've sort of maybe added in an interview component that'll be more time-intensive, but really, really sincerely appreciate all of the work that you do to shed light on incredible things that are happening across the state. Great. Any final comments from any commissioners before we move to public comment?
I do. It's Commissioner Ruiz.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes, I just wanted to underline also just all the work that goes into this every year, but this year in particular, the committee for the Impact Award. I see you and I see how tough this is every year, and I'm always so impressed by your process and how you bring it to us. So I just really appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Sorter?
Yes, thank you both, because it is a lot of work. And also to SELPA and SECO for continuing on with the funding for this award.
Thank you. Okay, not seeing any other comments. Thank you so much to all of our applicants. It's also a tremendous amount of work for you to submit applications. And I know that one thing that education never gives us is a gift of extra time. So thank you for the time that each applicant took to participate. And with that, we will move to public comment. Anyone in the room who wishes to make public comment can begin lining up at the podium. And while we're waiting for that, we will allow time for callers not in the room to call in.
No, it's not. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. I come to you as a 25-year veteran special day class teacher, also the California Federation of Teachers Special Education Services Committee chair. And sitting back here listening to all the talk about inclusion, it is big right now. It's a big topic of a conversation across our state. I hear it from my committee members who are representative of not just educators in the classroom, but support personnel as well, all kinds, psychiatric social workers, speech and language pathologists, etc. I know this topic is going to be brought up tomorrow, and I have a lot to say, so I apologize in advance if you hear it twice. But so again, 25 years in the classroom as a special day class teacher, middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Inclusion is the goal for all of our students who are able to meet the demands of a general education class setting. But unfortunately right now, there is no criteria for inclusion. I teach in Los Angeles Unified School District, and our superintendent has publicized that there's a goal of 80% of our students, 80% of the time in general education. However, there is no criteria. And that's the scary part. I would like to tell you briefly about William, was my student, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. He's now an 11th grader, and I do keep in touch with him because I am friends with a lot of his former current teachers. William left me in the 8th grade with the 1st grade reading level. William is still at a 1st grade reading level because the high school that he went to is a full inclusion high school. There's no special day programs. I tried to get William in the span of 3 years into an IDEC intensive literacy program in LA Unified. There was a waiting list, not enough programs. William is falling through the cracks of our education system. And I believe it's criminal. Like myself and many of my colleagues believe it's criminal that we graduate these students being stuck in a literacy level because we did not meet their needs. And pushing our students into inclusion programs or inclusion models when they're not yet ready for the sake of cutting costs is criminal. I want to tell you also about a former student, Nayeli. Nayeli was in my special day class, and through her advocates and her parents, they wanted her included in a special day class when in reality, she should have been in an alternative model. And I bring both of these students up because
Time. Thank you.
I guess you'll hear more from me tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time, but you will hear from me tomorrow.
Thank you. Actually, can we back up before we move to callers online for a procedural question? We have 12 commissioners in the room. We had 6 votes in favor and 6 abstentions. Does that meet the criteria for the majority vote? Or do we need to continue the process? Technically, it was a tie. Yeah.
Good morning. It does look like your bylaws require a simple majority of commissioners present at the meeting to pass a motion.
Yep. Vice Chair Snipes.
And then this question for you too, Kate. I'm abstaining because one of the candidates is a grantee for my work. And so I need clarification on that, whether I need to abstain from voting or if I can vote, if that would be seen as a conflict of interest.
I think it's not, and unfortunately, I'm not able to speak. It's a legal question.
So I believe that also impacts Commissioner Oyehauer, if I'm remembering correctly. That would be 2 commissioners that are abstaining for that purpose.
I think mine is a more remote relationship, but I am personally abstaining even if it's not required. I don't feel comfortable voting on this because of the potential conflict or appearance of it.
And for those abstentions that were for the reasons of needing additional information, one of the options that you have is to bring this forward for more discussion once you've gathered that information.
Thank you so much. So would I be right to assume that kind of the two clearest options would either be to gather more information and vote again in April, or to take another roll call vote? Would we have to make a motion to re-vote before we could vote? Oh, goodness.
I think you might get a sense from the podium if there are any commissioners who might wish to change the vote, and then you can decide how to proceed.
So knowing that we require a 7 to 5 or more in order to officially approve the 2026 Impact Award winner, are there any commissioners who abstained who would be interested in potentially making a vote that would push us into that simple majority? We're not sure if you can. There was a nod from Vice Chair Snipes, but we're not certain about the conflict of interest piece. I know that with the timing of having the recipients come to the June meeting and everything that needs to be done with the video, and that's a process that already, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, last year felt pretty crunchy, time crunchy between February and June. So,
Sorry, there is one more option that Member Yoshimoto Tauri just reminded me of, is to keep the item open and revisit it tomorrow and get clarification on the conflict piece by then.
Phenomenal, thank you. Commissioner Sorter?
Is it something that the committee could reach out to the district and ask for specific information and have it so that it's shared tomorrow to answer any questions? Should they be available to answer the questions?
I think it could provide clarity. I also think that it could potentially be a step outside of the process that everybody else went through, and might not be as impartial.
Yeah, I would be leery of doing that if we're not doing that for everybody.
I would add that I believe there are some abstentions who didn't participate in scoring, so may not have read the full applications. So maybe that's something that everyone can do prior to the meeting tomorrow and have more information.
I think that's a great idea.
I would agree with that, and I would say that we will need to vote tomorrow because just talking with our partners around particularly the video creation, I don't think that waiting until April is going to be an option.
So am I correct in the general consensus is we're going to keep the item open, ask commissioners to read the 3 applications, and then bring the item back tomorrow?
And if we can also get clarification on Vice Chair's potential conflict or not.
And yes, and research into the chairs. So I think just to keep this really clean, we would need a motion, since we've already taken a vote, to bring this item, keep it open and bring it back tomorrow. I'm seeing some nods. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to keep this item open, get clarification on the conflict of interest piece, and have commissioners have extra time to read the 3 applications that are the finalists. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Chair
Wait,
Notch.
Chair Notch, can I?
Oh, sorry,
I'm
Commissioner
I have
Ruiz.
a super quick question. Just based on kind of what was brought up right now, do our votes count, the ones that are not in person?
I believe so, yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Chair Notch,
Yes.
Chair Commissioner Snipes,
Yes.
Commissioner Graff,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Liu,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaud,
Yes.
Commissioner Oyakawa,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorter,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Donata Sapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Feimer.
Wonderful. Well, I did not do a great job of counting votes for the approval. We have a majority in that. We have a unanimous vote, so we will bring that back tomorrow. And we will close this item with public comment online.
Can I
Oh,
say
sorry.
One last thing.
course.
The applications are linked in the summary document that includes all three, so that'll be an easy way to get to them.
Thank you so much.
Say one quick thing. Just want to thank the commissioners for doing, all this work, and just know how much we appreciate it. And thanks for giving us a little extra time.
Wonderful. Do we have any callers online? Great.
Caller ending in 7407. If comfortable, please state your name and affiliation. You will have exactly 1 minute. Your time starts now.
Hello, this is Judy McKinley calling in. I would like to thank Commissioner Notch for her comments. I also would like to support what the lady that made comments in the room. A full continuum of services is a requirement that needs to be met throughout the school districts in the state of California. And at this point, a full continuum of services does not exist for many students. My special interest is specific learning disabilities. The kids need specific direct instruction, and they are not getting it. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. We will now transition to item 4, general public comment. That is the ability to make comment on any issues that were not on the agenda today. While we have the slide up for participants to dial in, I'll ask anyone in the room who wishes to make a public comment to begin lining up at the podium. And seeing no one in the room, do we have any callers online?
There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Well, we made it with 8 minutes to spare. At this time, we are going to adjourn the Advisory Commission on Special Education meeting and officially transition commissioners to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA 50th anniversary celebration. So very excited for that. Thank you all, commissioners, members of the public in the room and online for your participation. And we will begin tomorrow with day 2 of our meeting at 9 a.m. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Just for information. Oh, it's okay. Just for information, though, the case report that's going to be referenced tomorrow will be made available today in the folder for everyone that wants to read it ahead of time.
For some reason.
please exit through the back.
Test. There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Rachel Heenan. I'm the Division Director of Special Education at the California Department of Education. Really excited for this day. I feel like it's a long time coming here for CDE. We've had many celebrations throughout the state, and really, really excited for CDE to share and lead this day. So thank you again for joining us. This is the 50th anniversary of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA, and your presence here, whether you're parents, families, students with disabilities, agencies, CDE, really reflects our commitment to students with disabilities and improving outcomes for all students in California. So thank you all for being here today. This is my first opportunity to be an MC. I've never been an MC in my life, but I am going to introduce a lot of really exciting speakers today. We have representative from our state SELPA Association, our Special Education Local Plan Area Association. We have our State Council of Developmental Disabilities. We'll hear from parents, students, persons with disabilities of all abilities. We have our Advisory Commission on Special Education, the State Board of Education, and our State Superintendent of Public Instruction will be joining us momentarily. We're really, really excited about this day and our why. I always like to come together for a good party, but the why, again, today is more heartfelt than we can even explain. So nearly 50 years ago, and for all of us who are in that age bracket, it wasn't very long ago. 50 years ago, a landmark law changed public education in our country. Originally passed in 1975 as the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. This legislation today is known as IDEA, opened the doors for millions of students with all abilities to share classrooms, to share space together. And more importantly, it provided our students with a free and appropriate public education with all students. Because of IDEA, classrooms today are more inclusive, and most students with disabilities spend the majority of their day alongside their typical peers, learning, belonging, having high expectations for every single learner. Early intervention services, family partnerships, and inclusive schools have strengthened outcomes for students across our state. And these principles really are the heart of the mission for our Division of Special Education, that one day every student in California will flourish in an inclusive, equitable learning environment with innovative and personalized support. So today, as we celebrate this milestone, we also honor our educators here, our families who are here, and our leaders who continue to do this work every single day. So it's my honor to introduce our distinguished speakers today, who embody the very spirit of what IDEA is through their commitment, through their vision, through their leadership, and as persons throughout the state. So to begin our program, I'd like to invite our State Board of Education Special Education Liaison, Dr. Allison Yoshimoto-Tauri, to join us for a few words. Allison?
Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Allison Yoshimoto-Tauri. It's amazing that we have standing room only. I would invite those of you in the back to find a seat for the program. There are seats up in the first rows, so please feel free to come on up. And it's my honor here today to say a few words as we gather to celebrate the 50th anniversary for IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Act. That law literally and figuratively opened the door for millions of students and families and changed the landscape for them 50 years ago. And yet, a law is a law. And what really makes a law come to life and the promise of a law is the dedication of people like yourselves and those that aren't here in the room that made commitments, dedication, fought really. And, you know, as a parent myself, with my son, as we navigated a system that I was very familiar with, I felt very helpless at times, being reliant on other people to meet what we felt was best for my son. And I think most of you know, if you were to just accept at face value the first time you were told something, you might not get everything that you really deserved or your child really deserved. And so it is also about continuing education for our families and our communities and holding hands together and standing up together to help each other look at the next 50 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and what this law means to really fully realize the promise of IDEA. It's going to take continued collaboration and education together to support. And I will just say that, you know, the law for me went from students being told and families being told that they couldn't be served in our public schools to having a seat at the table where their voice was heard and a plan was created. And again, that's really the baseline from what we want to explore. So I encourage you today, as you listen to the different speakers, as you listen to the heartfelt stories and experiences, that we also really take a moment to think and reflect on not only where we've been and how far we've come, but where we want to head. So again, I thank you for being here, and I look forward to today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, board member. So our first speakers today represent the SELPA, the Special Education Local Plan Area Administrators of California. It's an organization that has been a strong voice for students with disabilities for over 45 years. SELPA, as we lovingly call the association, was established in 1977 to ensure that every student with disabilities has access to supports and services they need, no matter the zip code or where they live. Today, California has 136 SELPAs, each dedicated to providing high-quality support, inclusive education, and services in collaboration with our families, with our educators, and our local education agencies. The SELPA Administration of California is a statewide association of current and retired leaders who work together to influence best practice, policy, and advocate for equitable opportunities for all students, specifically students with disabilities. Their commitment to inclusion, collaboration, and continuous improvement has had a profound impact on our families, educators, and everyone across the state. As a former SELPA administrator, these are my friends and dear colleagues who do the work. They have the heart for the work in every single decision they make every day. So it's my honor to introduce Veronica Coates, Chair of the SELPA Association and Assistant Superintendent at the Tehama County Office of Education, and Dr. Scott Turner, the Executive Director of the East San Gabriel Valley SELPA, who will share a few words with us. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for that warm welcome, Dr. Heenan. It is standing room only. We're sitting up here, and I actually captured how many of you were here, and now I'm probably even more nervous and just honored to be here. This is a really special day. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. As Rachel said, my name is Veronica Coates. And I have the honor of serving as the Assistant Superintendent of the Tehama County SELPA, just due north of here where we are. And also I'm the current chair of the SELPA Administrators of California Association this year. As Rachel so eloquently put, I'm going to give a little background. The SELPA Administrators of California is a nonprofit association representing the 136 special education local plan areas. Over the past year, we have celebrated this anniversary and profound impact of the landmark legislation and civil rights law that has spread across California as well. Celebration must also call us forward because the work of building a more inclusive future for students with disabilities is not yet complete. So we're going to take you on a little journey through our talk today around some history, but really hopefully at the end of our talk, a true call to action.
Thank you, Veronica. Good morning. My name is Scott Turner, Executive Director of the East San Gabriel Valley SELPA and immediate past chair of the SELPA Administrators of California. As we reflect on the 50th anniversary of the IDEA, we are reminded of just how new and emerging the field of special education is. While 50 years may seem like a lot of time to many of us, it's just a blink when you think of history overall. In celebrating the 50th anniversary of the IDEA, we're also reminded of the immense history of California in serving individuals with disabilities. Long before the IDEA or any federal law requiring special education, California differentiated itself from many other states by providing programs for individuals with disabilities. These programs included state schools for the deaf and blind, dating back to 1860, to disability-specific programs in districts throughout California, and even consortiums for districts for the purposes of special education long before California required special education local plan areas, or SELPAs. However, even with the most proactive intentions, we know the programs of these eras were inconsistently funded, not readily available across areas of the state, and were largely segregated within communities. We also know that many individuals with disabilities were still within their own homes or institutionalized during this time. In the early to mid 1950s, the civil rights movement began to reshape the educational system. The 1954 Brown versus Board of Education ruling established that separate is not equal based on race, starting the process for desegregating schools across our country. We know that this work was not achieved overnight, and many will point to examples as to how this work is still being done today. But for individuals with disabilities, it took an additional 2 decades for monumental legislation to be enacted to address the segregation and institutionalization of individuals with disabilities in our country. In the congressional hearings and grassroots advocacy leading up to 1975, it was estimated that over 1.8 million school-age children with disabilities were completely shut out or denied access to public schools. An additional 4 million school-age children with disabilities were receiving inadequate, inappropriate, and largely segregated services. Public Law 94-142, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, enacted by Congress and signed by President Ford, in response to these findings, established that all children with disabilities were entitled to a free and appropriate public education, regardless of their needs or localities. Local educational agencies, or LEAs, were tasked with activities such as search and serve or child find, terms that personally, to me, seemed to use odd terminology when I was pursuing my credential and master's in special education, but seem very appropriate when you consider the millions of school-age children with disabilities completely denied access or not provided appropriate services within public schools during this time in our history.
And Scott and I are fortunate to walk in the footsteps of giants, the late Sarge Kennedy, who worked in my SELPA and Tehama County SELPA for many years, and Jack Lucas, who worked, I believe, in your SELPA. So it's just funny we're here together as they're our mentors and have really laid the foundation for much of the work in California and showed us what fierce advocacy looks like. Their courage and vision shaped the systems we now steward. And for me, this history is personal. My grandma worked at the Yountville State Hospital when kind of when Scott was talking about that time when students were institutionalized, and I remember hearing her stories about that was her favorite job of all time. So growing up, it was just an inspiration for me to become a special educator in a different time. My aunt also worked with students with significant behavioral and emotional disabilities. So I've lived this landscape across my generations, and the stories I've heard and direct impacts I have seen personally and professionally reflect the mission of SELPAs, ensuring rightful presence, belonging, and inclusion. They're not aspirations, they are promises we must honor. Even before PL 94142, now known as the IDEA, California was leading. In 1974, we had the California Master Plan for Special Education. I still have an original copy in my office. And it laid the foundation for a continuum of services that continues to guide us today. Landmark court cases have guided us along the way. In Board of Education versus Raleigh, the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court, said schools must provide a basic floor of opportunity. This wasn't perfect, but foundational. It affirmed that education for students with disabilities is not optional, it's a right. In the Ninth Circuit, the Rachel H. case strengthened the framework for least restrictive environment, also known as LRE, giving us a balancing test that has shaped inclusive practices for decades. And less than 10 years ago, think about that in relation to history. In 2017, the Andrew F. case further raised the bar, merely more than de minimis. Progress is not enough. Students with disabilities deserve ambitious goals and meaningful challenges. Individualized education programs must be reasonably calculated to enable a student to make progress appropriate in light of their unique and diverse experiences. Most recently, the Ninth Circuit's Redondo Beach decision reminded us that access to general education must be substantive, not symbolic. A student's grade level performance does not determine their right to learn alongside their peers. This decision reemphasized that the IEP dictates whether a student is receiving educational benefit and reminds us that nowhere in IDEA or California Education Code is the IEP referred to as a plan. It is a program, and educators are challenged to ensure that an individualized program is implemented for each student in the least restrictive environment as appropriate. These cases are not endpoints, there are guideposts, and we'll continue to have guideposts. They call us to push for greater opportunity, deeper equity, and stronger outcomes. As SELPAs, we partner with the CDE to advance not only changing mindsets around inclusion and belonging, but also shared leadership and responsibility. Our responsibility is twofold: to advocate boldly within our LEAs and districts, ensuring that LRE is realized for every student, and to examine our own behaviors and mindsets, because the leader's perspective is the most powerful force in advancing inclusion. Inclusion begins with us, and true leadership begins with reflection. This reflection has and was a catalyst for some internal accountability, making sure our leadership as SELPAs reflects the values we are seeking in our schools. We demonstrate this commitment through a variety of ways, including the statewide system of support. Our focus is clear: student outcomes, inclusion, access, collaboration across agencies, elevation of student and caregiver voice. Through the statewide system of support and redesigned monitoring, we are strengthening accountability to ensure students with disabilities receive a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment, and the LEAs are supported in achieving these outcomes. As we celebrate this anniversary, we also must look forward. California continues to lead the way. Year after year, advocates continue to fight to ensure the federal government keeps its promise to fund IDEA. California continues to answer by increasing statewide funding for special education. And our values are reflected in our budgets. This year's proposal recommends full equalization of special education funding across all SELPAs. It's almost 30 years past the innovative AB 602 model was released, and many of us did not think we would ever see this in our lifetime, and we could possibly see it this year. It is more than numbers on a page. I say that all the time. Students are more than numbers on a spreadsheet, numbers on a page. It reflects a commitment that the promise of IDEA, the presence, opportunity, and dignity of students with disabilities is not just a catchphrase. It is a principle we honor at the very top of our state's priorities. Yet we know the work is not finished. Students with disabilities remain the only population still routinely segregated. Inclusion is far from universal. This is a civil rights issue. The disability community is the last group of children and young adults for whom we continue to allow this segregation, and that is not acceptable, not in 2026. So we must ask ourselves, when history looks back at IDA's 75th or 100th anniversary, how will our story be told, this next phase? Slow and steady, incremental movement, or bold, transformative leadership that reshaped education? Legacy requires intentionality, courage, and vision. SELPAs exist to ensure no student is left behind and to ensure every child has access. Lastly, to ensure that we as leaders reflect the values we champion in our schools every day. Our mission and vision call us to lead collaboratively, to elevate families and students as true partners, and to build systems that are equitable, sustainable, and rooted in the belief that all children belong. Let us honor the giants who came before us by making inclusion not a milestone, but a movement. Let us honor our students by ensuring their full participation in classrooms, communities, and the lives they deserve. And let us ensure that when the 75-year or 100-year celebration comes, California shines as a model of courage, commitment, and the unwavering pursuit of equity and justice for every diverse learner. Thank you.
Thank you again to our SELPA Association for making the trip today and coming to celebrate with us. Next, we'll hear from our council, the State Council for Developmental Disabilities, Executive Director Aaron Carruthers. And so for those of you who may not know, the State Council for Developmental Disabilities is established by both state and federal law as an independent state agency to ensure people with developmental disabilities have the support and the services that they need. People with intellectual or developmental disabilities know what's best for themselves. They know what they need to live independently and to actively participate in their communities. Through advocacy, system building, capacity building, and systemic challenge, SCDD works to achieve a person-centered and family-based system of individualized service, support, and assistance. Aaron Carruthers is the Executive Director of the California State Council of Developmental Disabilities. He's worked in the civil rights policy programs for over 25 years, including as an appointee of 2 governors, the California Attorney General, and the State Senate and Assembly. He is currently carrying out the Council's 2026 theme of Better, Stronger, Together. Last year's SCDD's work impacted more than 3 million Californians. He is a child of parents with developmental disabilities, a person with disabilities, and is the parent of a young man who also has different needs. Aaron, can you please come up and share a few words?
Dr. Heenan, thank you so much for that thorough introduction. Like, it's hard to describe someone's professional history, personal history, organizational history. You're doing a great job as an MC, a natural. Thank you for the invitation to this event and also for the touches to make this event accessible, including ASL interpreters. I'm going to say something in interpreter now. I can speak quickly sometimes. If I talk too quickly, give me a nudge.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what we know today to be a standard, really to be a baseline, was once a radical idea, and that was that students with disabilities have a right to free and appropriate education. Every speaker has said it so far. Every speaker that's to come will say it. But why was it radical? It was radical because it rejected exclusion. It was radical because it rejected low expectations. It was radical because it declared disability does not predict dreams. It does not predict opportunities. As Executive Director of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, SCDD, I see every day how that radical promise continues to shape lives across California. I can also see how it's shaped generations. The SCDD, we've been doing our work for 55 years, and we do our work by asking the community every 5 years, what do you want us to work on for you? We saw about a 15, 20-year period where the number one answer was, basically, help me get my benefits and keep my benefits. Then about 15 years, something interesting happened. Employment was the number one answer. Then 5 years after that, it was employment, housing, education. 5 years after that, those themes continued. We just completed the survey again. 4,200 people responded to a voluntary survey. There was nothing in it for them except the belief we would do something with the information. The answer again was these whole life measures. We all believe that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities should live, learn, thrive in the communities of their choosing. And that belief doesn't begin in adulthood, it begins in school. Special education exists to prepare students for this full life that we hear being asked for from the community, including employment, including living independently. That preparation begins with an important document, the IEP. The IEP, it's more than a document, it's the cornerstone of IDEA. It's rooted in the simple but profound idea that students have individual strengths, needs, dreams, and goals. The IEP operationalizes dignity. An effective IEP is not about compliance, it's about possibility. When we tailor supports appropriately, we unlock potential. The IEP becomes that vehicle for independence, for self-determination. Students learn to advocate for themselves. Families, parents, become empowered partners. Educators collaborate in a way that centers the student's future. 50 years ago, the idea that students with disabilities should be included in classrooms, learning alongside their peers, was revolutionary. But what's more radical than inclusion? Inclusion says you belong here. Radical inclusion says systems are going to have to adapt for us, not us adapt for the systems. But even today, inclusion takes courage. It requires disruption. It requires dismantling long-standing barriers, and it remains the North Star of the IDEA and of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. We're disruptors. Our core work is systemic change and barrier removal. It's disruption of how things have been to make them better for people served. We look beyond the individual and ask, what policies, practices, structures are interfering with opportunity? For example, chronic absenteeism is more than a statistic. It's a barrier to learning, barrier to skill development, to graduation, and ultimately to employment and independence. However, when a student with disabilities misses school because of medical needs, treatment schedules, transportation challenges, the wheelchair broke, the lift broke, other disability-related factors, well, if these absences were approached as a compliance issue, rather than to reduce chronic absenteeism, that can create a barrier to access. We need to approach this issue as a supports need issue, get ahead of it, and make sure people are still integrated in their school system. It's an area that's happening, it's an area we hear from parents, and it's an area we can improve together. Another area, similarly, is we're engaged in deep conversations about off-campus work opportunities and meaningful transition pathways to employment. If the purpose of special education is to prepare for employment and independent living, then we must ensure that students have access to these real-world, real-life work experiences. I'll say this, a little bit of humor, a lot of sincerity. If there's any member of the legislator's office or staff in here, we got bill ideas on both of these, just come talk to me. We'll get you the unbacked bill before this Friday's introduction deadline. Because that's what we do. We advance policy to make the changes. But those systemic changes require partnership. And that's why I want to take a moment to thank and to applaud the extraordinary work that's happening at the California Department of Education. Thank you to the superintendent. Thank you to Dr. Heenan. Thank you to all those great people in your shop that I get to work with, including Noelia Hernandez. CDE has demonstrated leadership in providing technical assistance to local agencies, building capacity across the state. They're not just enforcing compliance, they're supporting improvement. They're highlighting innovative programs that prepare students for the future, programs that integrate career technical education, inclusive practices, and transition planning in meaningful ways. They're investing in capacity building so educators feel supported, not isolated. And when you look at that work, building systems, strengthening outcomes, centering equity, is it any wonder that SCD and CDE are collaborative partners? Because our missions intersect, because our values intersect. We both believe in preparing students not only to graduate, but to participate fully in community life. We both believe in equity. We both believe in access. We both believe in outcomes that matter in and beyond the classroom. And we believe in the promise, the legacy, and the future of the IDEA. Yet, as we celebrate, we must also recognize some of the work ahead. Funding gaps remain. Support staff are hard to find. Parents struggle to navigate complex systems. Outcome disparities persist. The school-to-prison pipeline for students with disabilities, and especially students of color, is real. But here's what gives me hope. The IDEA is resilient. It has always been powered by parents who refuse to accept no. It's been powered by educators who believe in potential and by students who grew into self-advocates who demanded voice and agency. Today, many adults leading in disability rights are individuals who benefited from the IDEA. That is the long arc and impact, and that impact continues. We're talking today about a living promise, a promise that must evolve as society evolves, a promise that must be strengthened as new barriers emerge, and we must continue to listen to students, to parents, to families, to educators. When we get real input, we can make real impact. When we center lived experience, policy becomes more effective, systems become more humane, outcomes improve. So today, we celebrate 50 years of the IDEA. Here's to another 50 years of inclusion that means radical, that remains radical, of equity that remains urgent, and of opportunity that continues to expand. Thank you.
That was beautiful, super touching. Take a look around. Well, if you were in this room, came at the beginning, take a look around at this room. This is our why. This is the support and the people who are moving this work forward. So again, I can't thank everybody enough for being here. It makes me think the next 50-year celebration, which I won't be here, sorry to say, but we might need like a gymnasium or an auditorium. This is beautiful. So thank you for all of you for coming. So our next speakers really wanted to hear a personal perspective from both a parent and adult who have been with us through the IDEA school system and later on as adult consumers in life. Robin Ryan and her son Gabriel are here to speak today. Robin brings over 30 years of experience in special education, technical assistance, family support, and expertise in strategic planning, training, compliance oversight. She does it all. She also currently works as a coordinator within the Sacramento County Office of Education, and she leads our Seeds of Partnership program, which is so critical for our outreach to families and persons and educators, all in the field of special education. She is a part of our system of support. She is our leader in that system. Her work centers on family engagement, California Family Empowerment Centers, research and evaluation, and professional learning. Robin contributes to our state and national work groups and collaborates closely with our educators, parent centers, community partners, and individuals with disabilities to strengthen our systems of support. Her work is grounded in both professional and personal experience. As a parent, she is deeply committed to improving access, opportunities, and outcomes for individuals with disabilities and their families. Gabriel Ryan is a writer, a presenter, and an advocate with over 12 years of experience as a blog contributor for School Health Corporation. He currently authors Gabriel Ryan's Access Angle, which is a featured blog focused on accessibility, inclusion, and practical resources for individuals with disabilities. Through his writing, Gabe connects disability policy to real-world experiences that offer insight and recommendations to promote independence, access, and inclusion. In addition to his writing, Gabriel serves as a presenter, a panelist, a community volunteer, sharing his lived experience to highlight the transformative impact of inclusive practices, disability rights, and universal access in everyday life. So it's my honor to introduce Robin and Gabriel. Would you please come up and share your story?
Okay, hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you, Dr. Heenan, wherever she went. We're honored to be among so many colleagues and friends and champions to participate in this IDEA celebration event. The IDEA has brought along many services, programs, and policies, and there's so much that could be mentioned today. But we would like to focus on the importance of access inclusion. So definitely a theme here today with the rest of the speakers, of course. As a parent of a son with a disability, access and inclusion are not just concepts to me. They're deeply personal. It's being included, valued, and truly being seen. I also have the privilege of working in the field of education and focus on family support throughout California for almost 30 years. I often get to see how impactful the principles of IDEA are when they are implemented. When families are supported, they can better support their children with disabilities to access education and beyond. IDEA had been signed into legislation 20 years prior to my son Gabriel entering preschool. But there I was, a young mom with a 3-year-old, Gabe, with this tiny blue wheelchair, manual wheelchair, trying to convince the school district that Gabriel belonged. He belonged in the neighborhood school. He belonged in the general ed class. The district proposed only a special day class with students learning communication skills. And it was an hour bus ride away. And that's where they had support staff, and that was the reason. And they were also not sure how to support Gabe in a typical preschool class, so the neighborhood school was not an option. But it became my mission to find the person in the district who better understood the principles of IDEA and who would work with us to implement them. And so I learned a lot about IDEA that year, and so did the school district. Gabe did attend his neighborhood school in the general education preschool class with services and supports, and that began his journey of access and inclusion in the educational space.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for allowing us to come speak today. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience with the IDEA in the educational system. So the IDEA was definitely an instrumental thing during my time being in the educational system, and I even used the tools from the IDEA even now. So the IDEA was helpful for me in the classroom so I could be fully included with my peers in different subjects like science, history, and math. And it was also really helpful because oftentimes I would learn the information and then I would also be the first one with my hand up with the answer. Next, I'm gonna share a little bit about how making friendships in the classroom and creating relationships with those educators were helpful during my experience. I ended up having so many friends, and what's nice was they got to learn a little bit about someone with a disability as well, and learn about my wheelchair and ask me questions, and that was really helpful, not only for that time, but the time, of course, when we're not in school and they see someone out there, they could think of me and maybe have a conversation with them and see how their day's going. Next, I wanted to share how important it is to create multiple friendships in the community. So outside of the classroom, I've used the principles of IDAA in my everyday life and going around in the community. So when I'm at a restaurant, I just talk to the manager or someone that I become friends with, and just creating that relationship so that way next time when I come in, they know me, and we can also get a good seat in the restaurant. But having those relationships are crucial to our community, because you never know what they'll do next. So you might see them somewhere else, and then they'll remember you. But I just think it's really important to have those relationships. And I also quickly wanted to highlight my work. So I'm a blog writer, as Dr. Heenan mentioned, and I use a lot of the principles in the IDA and beyond to write about my topics. because it's really important not to forget the people that came before you and paved the way for everyone to be included. So I'm gonna pass it back to Robin, and then we can move on.
Thank you. So we have found that access and inclusion doesn't just happen, right? It has to be intentional by design. The most helpful supports, preschool through high school, were trained one-on-one support, assistive technology, occupational and speech therapy, etc. But the biggest success factor was the mindset of the staff. The biggest. They treated Gabe as capable, especially the general education staff, who often came up with some of the best ideas on how to include Gabe into their class and provided access to what was being taught. A special nod to the educators who are creative and find ways to make access, inclusion, and belonging a priority. Today, we celebrate the opportunities and achievement connected to this legislation. Today, we lift up and hold space for the difficult experiences so many families, individuals with disabilities have faced and continue to face in accessing education and welcoming environments. And this is critical because it helps us all to learn better, learn to do better. Today, we encourage commitment to this important work and strengthening partnerships to make it happen for each student in California. So IDEA didn't just change systems, it changed lives. And we share our experience today because we believe
access is not
say it together.
Yeah.
Access is not optional.
Is not optional.
And
inclusion is not negotiable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another round of applause, please, for Ryan and Gabriel. Thank you. Thank you, Gabe. Next, we have our Advisory Commission on Special Education, or the acronym we use is ACSE. As we continue this celebration, it's my pleasure and privilege to recognize ACSE, whose members provide essential guidance to the State Board of Education, to the Legislature, to the State Superintendent, ensuring that policies and practices support meaningful outcomes for our students with disabilities. We're especially grateful that the Commission has joined us to share this event today. So it's now my honor to introduce the Chair of ACSE, Sarah Notch. And for those of you who don't know, Sarah brings a wealth of experience to this role. She's worked in classrooms and districts and county offices across California. She began her career as a special day class teacher for students on the autism spectrum. She's served numerous leadership roles supporting students from birth to age 22, and both as a professional and a parent of a child with a disability, she brings deep insight, passion, and advocacy to her work, helping districts remove barriers, engage families authentically, and to create truly inclusive learning environments. So it's my honor, please join me in welcoming Sarah Notch, the Chair of the Advisory Commission on Special Education.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Heenan, for such a wonderful introduction. I'm very honored to be here and have so much appreciation for this event and what everyone in this room means. 50 years ago, Congress did something extraordinary. Before that moment, schools in America could simply say no to children, and they did. Children were told that they did not belong. Families were handed a narrow set of grim options, shaped not by possibility, but by low expectations. More than 1 million children were excluded from public schools entirely. Another 3.5 million attended, but received no meaningful services. Think about that. 1 million children erased from classrooms. Millions more present, but invisible. IDEA changed that. It declared that every child, every single child, has the right to a free and appropriate public education. Today, we celebrate that commitment. I stand before you as the chair of the Advisory Commission on Special Education, a former special education teacher, and currently an administrator at the San Mateo County Office of Education. My mother was a special education teacher, so I went into the family business. And she, in a single moment, went from a practitioner to a consumer of the very services that she once provided when a car accident caused a traumatic brain injury. This work has been the heartbeat of my life. When I became a parent, that heartbeat became even stronger. My youngest son has complex special education needs. I know what it's like to sit in an IEP as an educator and as a mom, to hope that someone sees your child's strengths before they see the challenges. If my son had been born before 1975, he would not be in school today, no question. Instead, he has services, supports, a team committed to understanding him, professionals who see his potential, know his strengths, and push for his success. And knowing the history, what I keep coming back to is this. All of this is possible because teams commit over and over to helping my son realize what once seemed unimaginable. Not lowering the bar, not managing my expectations, not preparing me for limitations, but by dreaming big without borders. That's what IDEA made possible. It gave children rights. It gave families a voice. It gave us a framework rooted in civil rights, not charity or gifts. IDEA didn't just open schoolhouse doors, it shifted power. 50 years is not a small milestone. It represents generations who refused to accept exclusion as inevitable. Today, nationwide, more than 7.5 million students receive special education services. Children who once would have been institutionalized are now in classrooms, on playgrounds, in band concerts, and science fairs, and walking and rolling across graduation stages. They are seen, they are thriving, and they are transforming their communities. And it happened because people refused to accept no as an answer. IDEA created something powerful, accountability. The individualized education program is not a suggestion. It is a legally binding commitment. When systems fall short, families have rights. When services are not delivered, there is recourse. Accountability means honoring the dignity of every student by keeping our word, keeping our promises to children who cannot afford for us to fail. IDEA ensures that we must keep trying and improving. The least restrictive environment mandate changed our mindsets. Instead of asking, why should this student be included? We now ask, why wouldn't they be? It created opportunities for friendships, for shared learning, and for community. Students with disabilities are not guests. They belong fully, proudly, and without exception. The disability rights movement gave us guiding principles. Nothing about us without us. Today, people with disabilities are leading policy, designing programs, shaping systems. Their expertise is essential. And there are possibilities now that were once thought out of reach. Programs like the Redwood Seed Scholars at UC Davis opens authentic college experiences to students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, real coursework, real campus opportunities, real pathways to independence. Beth Foraker, who leads this program, once shared that when her son was born, she was handed a list of limitations, what he would likely never do, what he would likely, what she should never expect from him, and what possibilities were off of the table before he even had a chance to begin. Those predictions were based on the world as it existed in the moment. A world without smartphones, a world without ride shares, a world without FaceTime, countless other assistive technologies that now enable him to lead a full and independent life. If she had accepted those limitations as fixed truth, it would have been an extraordinary injustice. Children are not limited by the tools that exist when they're born. They grow into a future that's still being invented. That's our charge as educators. We prepare students not for the world as it is, but for a world that does not yet exist, with tools not yet created, and opportunities we can't even yet imagine. Anchor expectations in possibility, and students rise to meet it. Anniversaries are not just about celebration. They're about recommitment. So let's keep this civil rights flame alive. Let's design for rightful presence. Students with disabilities are not exceptions. They are members to design for. We construct classrooms with multiple ways to access learning from day one. No more retrofitting. Let's collaborate with purpose. When an IEP team operates with trust, when educators and families see each other as partners, incredible things happen. Make no mistake, collaboration is courageous work. Let's commit to learning from what works and scaling it with urgency. Across California, the ACSES Impact Award shines a light on extraordinary practice, innovation that's not theoretical, but proven. These are not isolated bright spots, they are blueprints. Progress is not only about inventing something new, it's also about recognizing excellence, refining it, and expanding its reach to more students. Imagine what we could accomplish if we commit to full and equitable funding, true co-creation, post-secondary transformation, widespread excellence, and authentic belonging, assumed, embedded, and non-negotiable. 50 years ago, a child like my son would not have had a place in our schools. Today he does. The next question for the subsequent 50 years is not whether students like him belong, it's whether we will build systems bold enough to match their potential. Here's what I know with certainty. We can't just maintain IDEA. We must protect it fiercely, push it boldly, and build a future where every student, every family, every educator can thrive. Every year I see more innovation, more commitment, more students achieving outcomes that would have been unimaginable even a decade ago. And I'm deeply grateful. I'm grateful to stand here, to do this work alongside you, and for every educator and advocate and family member who make this promise real every day for children. The work is complex and demanding, and it matters. So yes, let's celebrate these 50 years. Let's honor the trailblazers, the educators, families, and students. But celebration is not the end, it's fuel for the future. So let's keep dreaming big without borders. Every student across California and beyond for the next 50 years, for the world we have yet to imagine. Because every child deserves a team that chooses strength before struggle, possibility before prediction, and humanity before any label. When we anchor ourselves to that belief in policy and in practice, we do more than change outcomes. We change expectations, we change culture, and we shape what the next generation will understand as justice. And we leave no ambiguity. Belonging is a right, worth is inherent, and opportunity is our responsibility. That's how we honor the last 50 years, and that's how we ensure that the next 50 are even more just, more bold, and more worthy of every child that's counting on us. Because the promise we keep today becomes the legacy that they inherit tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So our next and final speaker before our state superintendent comes up, talk about coming full circle. Helena Lourdes Donato Sop is a 16-year-old, nationally and internationally recognized speaker. She's an educator, a poet, and disability justice advocate. She also shared a preschool classroom with my daughter at age 3. She is a Black neurodivergent young leader whose work centers on disability justice, anti-bullying, inclusion education, critical media literacy, and intersection equity. Grounded in her lived experience and family values, Helena brings a powerful youth perspective to issues impacting education, access, and belonging. Helena has presented nationally and internationally at major academic conferences, TEDx, the Global Education Forum, and is a sought-after keynote speaker. She has partnered with organizations such as the National Education Association and has been featured in national and international media, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, Zeit Magazine, Discovery Education, and the Disney Channel. In California, Helena serves as a member of the Advisory Commission on Special Education, providing recommendations to the State Board of Education and state leadership. She is also the youngest appointee to the City of Long Beach's Commission for Women and Girls. Her work has been recognized with numerous state, national, and global honors, including awards from the Council of Exceptional Children and international education and disability rights organizations. Throughout her advocacy, scholarship, and creative work, Helena amplifies youth voice and demonstrates the transformative impact of inclusive education, disability rights, and IDEA in action. So it's my honor to invite Helena to come up and share a few words.
I'm honored to speak to you all today. As a student in a California public school, I want to thank the organizers of this 50th anniversary celebration for including and affirming the power of student voices in these important conversations and celebrations. I was first diagnosed with learning disabilities at the end of first grade and again in sixth grade. I have 4 non-apparent learning disabilities: a visual processing disorder, a working memory disorder, ADHD, and dyscalculia, a math disorder. I wish I could tell you that the path of schooling was easy for me, but schools are often underfunded and teachers are often overburdened, and so my school path has been troubling at times. I was relentlessly bullied by my peers in K through 8 because of my disabilities. I had some teachers who got it and plenty of others who did not, and so I struggled with my academics in grades 1 to 5 as I was learning about my disabilities and self-advocacy. I've had some educators who saw accommodations as privileges and were against supporting me. And I have fought against the shame that some sought to lay on me and fiercely armored myself with self-worth. I've had to learn how to be a very strong self-advocate to make sure that I receive free, appropriate public education. My activism was formed every day of my schooling experience as I fought to have a fair chance at schooling. My large body of work in disability rights and inclusion is a tribute to the 850,000 disabled students in California's schools who self-advocate for a fair education every day of their school lives. It wasn't until I transferred to Orange County School of the Arts in Santa Ana that I found a school that fulfilled every right that IDEA legislated for. And now I find myself in a dream school where every need I have as a disabled student is anticipated and quickly and lovingly met. But it took me 10 years of schooling to find a safe and supportive place, and no child should have to wait that long to feel supported and successful in school. After years of struggle, it is a miraculous experience now to go to a school where IDEA supports me at every move, and I'm so grateful for this important and transformational piece of legislation. I'm especially honored to speak to you today because I'm one of a few students in the nation that are linked to the life and legacy of Judy Heumann. I won the Judy Heumann Elijah Armstrong Award for Activism on August 22nd, 2023, just 5 months after Judy's passing on March 4th of that same year. Our cohort was the last to receive this important award in her name, and we take seriously our legacy of being connected to Judy's work. She played a pivotal role in the development and advocacy of IDEA, and leveraged her personal experiences as a disabled student to fight for this important legislation. And then later in her life, she worked directly on the legislation that would become the IDEA. I'm 16 years old, and I know that policy matters, and I am happy today to celebrate with you the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I represent the youth population of this state, and I do it proudly, because our voices matter as much as any adult voice in this room without question. And we are more than capable of continuing this fine work alongside you. I am a multiple globally award-winning disability activist and am currently in my 4th year of the partnership with the National Education Association, where I co-founded the Become a Champion for Disability Rights and Inclusion campaign. I'm an accomplished youth scholar with over 10 peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles and over 10 chapters published in scholarly books. And I was just sworn in this morning as a student commissioner on the Advisory Commission on Special Education. We are here today to celebrate 50 years of IDEA, and we are also here to commit to the work of equity and excellence in education in this great state of California. We are standing at a crossroads today where in this very political and historical moment, laws that we have long cherished are being dismantled and attacked. As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of a law that is essential for disabled students, we do not take for granted that we have it. I worry every day that my rights, my supports, and accommodations might be stripped from me, and so I stand here in my state seat of governance to commit to the work for justice and equity. Now more than ever, I look to my great state of California to be even fiercer and to lead the way in protecting the rights of disabled people. I was the 2024 Long Beach Youth Poet Laureate and the 2025 runner-up for the Los Angeles County Youth Poet Laureate, and a runner-up for the Youth Poet Laureate of the Western region of these United States. And so I will end with a piece of poetry that celebrates the power of youth voice. We believe in the power of youth voice. Stop telling us that we are going to be the leaders of tomorrow when we are busy being change makers today. See us now. Hear us now. It is now. You've heard of racism and sexism, but have you heard of adultism? Adultism is the idea that somehow adults are better and more informed than youth, that we should listen more to what they have to say. That is why we believe in the power of youth voice. We can speak for ourselves. We know our world. We know our needs, and we can address them ourselves. We believe in the power of youth voice because we do not become a democratic citizen suddenly at the age of 18. We participate now. We have opinions now. We know politics now. We are feminists. We are environmentalists. We are anti-racist. We are activists of all kinds. We are informed. See us now. Hear us now. It is now. We believe in the power of youth voice to make change. We fight racism, ableism, and the destruction of our planet, and we do it now. We work against child labor around the world and the diminishment of girlhood and education, and we do it now. We believe in the power of youth voice. We are no longer silent. Loud, proud, informed, nuanced, strategic, collaborative, coalition building. We are the power of youth voice. See us now. Hear us now. It is now. Thank you.
Well, that's a tough one to follow, and I'm glad it's not me. Whoo-wee. Thank you, Helena. Appreciate you. Wow. So it's my great honor to introduce a leader whose vision is steadfast commitment to continue to shape the future of public education in California. As California's State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Tony Thurmond oversees the largest public education system in the nation, serving nearly 6 million students across more than 10,000 schools. Think of that. Under his leadership, California has made historic investments in community schools, expanded mental health and wellness supports, and fully implemented universal transition kindergarten to ensure that students have access to high-quality learning opportunities at their earliest years. He's championed statewide literacy efforts, including a strong focus on ensuring students read proficiently by 3rd grade. Recognizing literacy is the foundation to long-term academic success. State Superintendent Tony Thurmond's leadership is deeply rooted in a belief that education has the power to transform lives. And his experiences growing up, if you haven't heard, truly shaped this lifelong dedication to public service. His unwavering focus on inclusion for all students of all abilities, innovation, and whole child education reflects the very principles of this celebration today through the IDEA. It aligns closely with our special education's mission and vision to ensure that every student in California flourishes in an equitable and inclusive learning environment. So please join me in welcoming the Honorable Tony Thurmond, California State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Thank you, Dr. Heenan, for those very kind words. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy anniversary. Good afternoon, everyone. I know that the circumstances in which we live are challenging, but I think this celebration is one that is worth noting. And I want to thank you, Dr. Heenan, and to all the staff in the Special Education Division, and everyone at the Commission, and everyone at SELPA. The list goes on and on and on. But I would be remiss to not acknowledge the comments that we heard just a few moments ago when Helena shared that incredible testimony. Can we get another round of applause? That is, I don't know what you're running for, but I'll vote for you right now. I hope you'll consider it. As you pointed out, we need real leadership, especially in these times. I have to be honest, I never thought, I'm a little older than the IDA. I'm 57 years old. I never thought in my lifetime I would hear anyone ever say that they would get rid of the U.S. Department of Education, which I always have taken as a direct attack on the rights for those who are served in special education. And I know that there have been some parts that have been tinkered with, and there's still some tinkering taking place, but everything has an end, and we will outlast this administration in its recklessness, and we will continue to protect IDEA and special education in this state and this country for the next 50 years and beyond. There were many things that I wanted to say, but after Helena's first line, I felt ashamed to say any of them. You put in important context what is so important for so many students, for so many families, for educators, for administrators, but really what we have to get better at in this state and in this country. As you spoke, all I can think about is how you are such a great example for ability, what you are capable of doing. And all of our students are capable, but everyone's different. We learn differently, we have different experiences. And shame on our state and our country for not recognizing that difference is a good thing and that we should be looking for ways to celebrate every individual for whatever their gifts and talents are. And so, as you well pointed out, we do right to see and hear the things that many of our students say. You know, and as you were sharing your remarks, I just wanted to scream out, I see you, I hear you. I had to contain myself, but I do hope that you will continue to help us with our Advisory Commission on Special Education. Congratulations, Commissioner, and that you will continue to champion, you know, making changes. You know, this is my 18th year in elected life. My first two offices were local there at the City Council and at the school board. I served on a school board for 4 years where all I heard was a district saying no as it related to the needs of students who were being served in special education. I heard people say no, not because it wasn't in a person's IEP or because it wasn't good for those students. I heard them saying no simply to try and save $1. And I thought, how can you say no to something that is guaranteed in law? And I get it that the federal government at that time was providing even less, maybe, you know, 8% of what we needed in terms of funding. But still, I understand the district struggle, but to say no for something that is both required, authorized, proven in law, guaranteed in law, to me, seemed criminal. And so since they were voting no, I learned how to vote no too. I was a no on everything that they were saying no to. I said, I'm not voting for that because we have a responsibility. And all we did as a system is drive families to have to go and find an attorney to be able to get to that yes. And so my whole time in the legislature, I spent focused on how do we get to the yes. I'm pleased to tell you right now that this current budget for this coming year has $509 million new additional dollars for supporting special education in the great state of California. That would take us to more than $999 per student. Can we just go to the 1,000? Can we just bump over and just say we're gonna? It means that every SELPA in this state would receive the same rate. I understand that there are more than 30, some 34 that do not. And so as we talk about equity and inclusion, let's make sure that we provide full funding for all of our SELPAs, for all of our districts, and certainly on behalf of the 850,000 students who we have the pleasure to serve. And so I'm grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to the work of our families. How many family members are here today? Just raise your hand so we can salute you and applaud you. Let's give our family members a great round of applause. Our educators a big round of applause. They all know where I live, y'all. We gotta applaud them. Administrators, partners, and advocates, we will not allow special education to go away. We will celebrate this 50th anniversary, and we will work towards the next 50 years of incredible service in the great state of California. Thank you all for being here. If I could, I'd like to ask Sarah Notch to come forward, and if, as the chair of our commission, if there are any other commissioners who would like to join us. Helena, if you'd like to join us. We have some hardware to share today. A very long and detailed plaque that I know that you all would love for me to read word for word. But recognizing that I stand between you and lunch, and recognizing that Helena and others have said it all, I would just say let today be considered as Special Education Day in the great state of California now and for the next 50 years. Yeah, you're welcome. They're going to turn off the screen behind you, so. Anybody have any jokes while we wait? I feel like that music should be playing, you know, Yep. We were just stalling until these lights go down, and they should be in lights, but we don't want the light to cast them. Ready?
So thank you, State Superintendent. Appreciate your time and for being here today. So if everyone could please just give him another round of applause. So in closing, I just want to say I can't close the celebration without bringing up and profusely thanking the Special Education Division and leaders for putting this, it's like a wedding is what I think it is. So specifically, if Noelia Hernandez is here, if you could just please stand. I think she's out probably hitting a table. She is one of the Associate Directors of Special Education, and her team for every detail that went in today. Noelia is a true leader in this state, and she has an uncanny ability to bring people together. So just wanted to express my huge congratulations, and if she's out there at the table, please do so. And her team, Tim Nash, Katie Mick, Nora Perella, Denise Lee, there's so many people who really worked on bringing this event together today. So, and especially thank you all for being here today, for really sharing this in this celebration, this huge moment in time for us. And like someone said earlier, we have come so far, but we have so much work to do. And I know together we can do this work together. So please join us out in the hallway, in the atrium for a celebration. We have some food. I wish I could say we had some drinks, but we have water, I think. So please enjoy some time outside. Again, this is your celebration, and thank you so much for coming today. Bye-bye.